At least as far as I'm concerned. It's not really my show, though.
Oh, I'm so mad. No, I don't care.
Oh, no. We're going to fight in the green room.
That's it. Oh, we're not in the green room anymore. We're live.
Right, yeah. Now we're live.
So angry.
We're live. We're live.
This is it. This
Don't
is called
write it. We'll do it
transparency.
live.
All
We're
right,
so-
here we
we're
go.
so angry.
3, 2, and... When standing on the shoulders of giants, take a moment to examine your steps. You may be standing on more giants than you thought you originally were. The legacies these giants leave are the paths that guide us, and if we glean enough, we may even cut our own. So tonight, the panel will explore the path of one giant whose unique talent was discovering the uniqueness of others and his desire to bridge the gap between them. So come glean with us as we examine the legacy of Jim Henson, right now on Dispatches from Outside the Box.
In the spaces, things exist. In the lines that form the network of your mind. Behind the retinas of imagination are the particles and peripherals that made you who you are. Turn off, shut your eyes, listen. Dispatches from outside the box.
All right, hello and welcome to the show that scours the corners of geekdom to inspire you to create outside the box. I'm C Michael Lanning, and we want to ask you to like, share, subscribe, hit that bell icon, and let other people know that we're here tonight having another fantastic dispatch. So before we begin, let's meet our panel before we really dive into talking
Oh,
about...
hold on. So yeah, and before we meet our panel,
With a few exceptions, the characters on this program are weird and peculiar and not to be trusted.
just thought that would be appropriate.
I second that.
Okay.
You're muted. You're muted.
Who's muted?
Chris.
No?
He's talking, but nobody can hear him.
Well, yeah, because we're hearing him from the other room.
You're hearing him through my mic.
I blame
Yeah.
Mitch.
how's
Yeah.
I
that?
blame it. There you go.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
See?
All right.
Can't be trusted.
There you are.
Speaking of weirdos other than me, Nita, introduce yourself.
My name is Nita Lanning. I'm the CEO of the Ragin 2 Broadcast Network. I am also the executive producer of Indie Comics Network on YouTube. And I run some other crap under the Ragin banner. Yep.
All right. Just like that, right? That's some other crap.
Yeah,
That's it.
exactly.
Hey, wait. When you say other crap, are you talking
I'm
about
talking
this?
right just about
That's-
this.
Wow.
This is what I'm talking about.
Oh, well, let's
I
make
am
this...
God. No, okay, go ahead.
Let's make this
Rap
crap
God.
shine. Daphne, go ahead and introduce
Rap
yourself.
Well, hello everyone. My name is Daphne Lage, and I'm a cartoonist, illustrator, and comic book artist, and bona fide weirdo from New York. I've been self-publishing comics since 1992, and I am known for the funny animal fantasy adventure Tall Tales, which is heavily inspired by Jim Henson, and my medieval fantasy soap opera drama Eagle Raven, Heir of the First Unicorn, which is in pre-launch right now and launches this coming Monday. So links in the show notes below. I am also co-host with Nita Lanning in this direction
No, that was right.
here.
That was right the first time.
Right.
You got it right the first time.
On the Ragin 2 the Vlogs show every Monday and Friday and here on the Ragin 2 network. And you can read both of my comics online at Tall Tales Online, TAILSonline.com, and eagleworks.com, EGOWORKS, where you can check out you can also check out all my videos on how I make my comics here on YouTube at Daphne Lage Art, which also simulcasts through the Ragin network. So thank you. Which is not called the Ragin network anymore officially.
No.
But yeah. So I gotta update my cue cards.
Right. Well, the Indie Comics Network.
Yes, we are the Indie Comics Network.
Randy, go ahead and introduce yourself,
Are
sir.
we switching the YouTube channel name around? Is that what it is?
We're still under the Ragin banner though. It's all under my properties.
You're good.
Yeah,
gotcha.
we have a
We-
parent
we-
company now.
We have yeah.
Oh,
Ragin.
we have a parent. Oh, no. Hey, everybody. I'm
Nobody
Randy
knows.
Zimmerman. I've been doing alternative and independent comics since 1984 or so. And done a lot of stuff with a lot of people, self-published a lot of stuff, done just about everything in this business that you can imagine. And now I podcast the Zimcast on Wednesday nights at 8 p.m. Also on the Ragin Tour, the Indie Comics Network, right? And the Sunday Funnies on Sunday morning at 9 a.m. Also here and everywhere that we can. So tune in for that.
All right. Mitch,
Hi, I'm
now that we
Mitch.
can hear you.
Yes. Hi, I'm Mitch Rogers, and technology really pisses me off.
Hey.
I'm the creator of the Boger comic book series, which you can find online, and I have the second trade paperback, Southern Gothic, which is going to be released at the end of September. So check out for that.
All right. Jarrett?
Hi, I'm Jared. I'm a nerd and geek, pop culture aficionado. I like to know stuff, and I know some stuff about Jim Henson. Hopefully I get to learn some new stuff tonight, and hopefully you get to learn some new stuff tonight. So let's learn.
Yes, that's right. It's all about it. We're brought to you by the letter J, F, and U. Anyway.
Woo.
So anyway, so we also have some people in our comments, believe it or not.
What?
So who's joining us on the
Join.
chat today?
Carl, hello, Carl. How are you? Arliss, hello, all.
Hello.
Arliss.
Master of Puppets.
Yes.
Muppets.
This is Tom's World.
It was either that or Muppet Master, so we kind of we went. And of course, Donna. Hi, guys.
Hi.
Hello. Pops. Hey, yo.
Hey, Pops.
Hey,
yo.
Pops.
Oh. And Facebook user, always good to have you.
Hello,
Facebook.
Get
Facebook user.
yourself.
Yeah, if you
Facebook
want-
user, head over to YouTube and identify yourself.
Carl says the usual suspects in the chat.
Yes.
So, okay, so I was really trying. I'm going to be very transparent here. I was really trying to see how to present this, and the thing about it is I don't want this to be a discussion where I'm going to lay a whole bunch of facts on you about Jim Henson. But let me tell you,
But you're
But
gonna
he has a
power.
write-up.
I'm going to
He's
do it
got-
anyway.
he's got
Well, I
notes,
still want some
y'all.
big
I didn't
notebook.
want to.
Yeah.
But no, because this is really because the works that he put forth and what required also had his philosophies ingrained in them. So part of his life is kind of involved in everything he does, just like us. And I kind of want to use that to glean from, as it were, if that makes any sense. So before we begin, we'll go around the room and I want to ask each one of you, when I say Jim Henson, when was the first thing that you remember realizing it was Jim Henson?
Wow.
Jared?
Of course, I'm first.
Oh, right, yeah.
Well, I don't know if the name popped out until and I hate to say it, but like his name wasn't like out there for me until I was about 11 years old, whenever the first Turtles movie came out.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, I knew he was a thing before then, but when I saw that his name was on there, I was like, holy crap, that's awesome, because they're fake, but they look good enough. They look realistic enough to be real, So and
Even to
whole
this day, they
animatronics
still
was amazing.
Yeah. Even to this day, they still have maintained that.
They hold up, dude. They're better
yeah,
than that CGI garbage they made. So.
Well, there's a lot of problems with that CGI movie, but that's just,
tons of it, and it's not just the CGI.
Yeah, well, even Henson was messing around with the CGI stuff. Look at the beginning of Labyrinth, and it would have been kind of interesting to see where he would have taken it, because you're talking about somebody who really thought outside the box.
Oh yeah.
Anyway,
I mean, it's like, look, honestly, the only big like regret, that the thing that really makes me go, oh man, is what would have happened if Jim Henson and Guillermo del Toro collaborated on something.
That is a movie we
just
deserve.
The concept gives me chills.
Yeah, that is a movie we deserve.
Yeah, and it's just absolutely tragic that will never happen.
Pan's Labyrinth meets the Dark Crystal.
There you go.
Yeah, no, for real.
Yep.
God knows what would have come.
Right. So
I
Mitch,
have to go touch myself.
yes.
we're gonna have to do dispatches after dark.
Really.
Companion piece.
That will be on FaceTube, everybody. So.
Yeah. FaceTube or U-Box.
U-Book. Yeah.
U-Book. Sorry.
U-Book.
I think the Muppets was the first time, because it was always marketed as Jim Henson's The Muppets.
Mm-hmm.
That's true.
Right.
Yeah.
So that was like, oh, who's Jim Henson? And then you come to find out there's this whole basic branch of entertainment that's just Jim Henson.
It opens wide open. Yeah. It's very well, there's you have Jim Henson, the Muppet, the Muppets, but then you also had the Creature Shop, which believe it or not, there's a little bit of animosity between them. And a lot of times they were like, the Creature Shop kind of started with the Dark Crystal, and the Muppet guys were like, oh yeah, that Brown movie over there. So
they're all
jealousy.
No matter where you work.
Well, for what I understand, as charismatic as the man was and everything, everybody wanted to be around him. So if he showed a little bit of favor, or they thought favoritism of somebody else, they were immediately jealous of that person, and they were the
well, everybody wants dad to tell them that they love them.
Right.
Love me, daddy, love me, please.
So Randy, you might have a little bit of a different angle on this.
Well, only age. So yeah.
Oh well, yeah.
I remember Ralph, the dog, on the Jimmy Dean show when I was a kid.
Right.
And didn't realize it was Jim Henson or that they were Muppets. I remember the Muppets on the first year Saturday Night Live.
Oh yeah.
Pretty well. I don't remember it being associated with Jim Henson, though, until the actual Muppet show popped up.
Well, when I learned this, that blew my mind. I'm like, the sausage guy? You mean to tell me?
Yeah.
And it was
made a heck of a sausage too, didn't he?
Oh yeah.
His brand is still around in grocery stores.
Now, Jimmy Dean, he was a country singer before he became
was.
right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Did you ever
Back when
see,
they had variety shows on television,
Now him and Rolf really really hit it off, from what I understand. They were there was a good rapport between the two of them, which is kind of funny.
He was a very popular character on that show.
This puppet dog, Muppet dog.
I don't even know if he had coined the word Muppet at that point. It's just it was really obviously a puppet, but
it was he actually coined the phrase when he was 18.
Okay.
So and we'll get into that in just a minute. Daphne, I'm really interested to know when you became aware.
See, that's the funny thing. I've always I can't remember a time where I didn't know who Jim Henson was. What's funny is that it wasn't until I was much older until I realized that one of the creature shops is near me.
Oh,
That I actually live near one of the creature shops, and that the Museum of the Moving Image, which is just like a couple of blocks away from me, they have a permanent Jim Henson exhibit, and it's like that's how I kind of associate. It's like, oh wait, that was always there. It's like,
Oh, that's
yeah,
I wish I was close to that.
it's like I've always raised on Sesame Street and the Muppet Show, and like the Muppet Show, it's like that was a family thing. We were all sit together, and it was just. I've always known Jim Henson. Like, I really can't remember when I didn't know.
Right.
Yeah, it's I guess because I was always kind of a creative kid, and my parents were always into that. So, like they knew, so I knew. So,
Right. Yeah, it's just always there, kind of like David Bowie.
Yeah, and I always used to walk by the like I said, like they had one of the creature shops over here, and I always used to walk by it, and I would always see this particular stained glass portrait in one of the windows of it was a stained glass portrait of Jim Henson and Frank Oz.
Ooh.
And it would be in the window, but it like high up, and I would always see it, and I was like, gee, I wonder what's there. I mean, what's it's like, oh, someone's hanging. And then that's how I learned that, oh crap, one of the Jim Henson studios is right here.
Man.
Were you able to go visit and look around?
No, it wasn't one of those. No, it was a
Did
literally.
you sneak in?
No, it was
would've.
literally a working studio.
I know the one in London, they used to have it open, and you can go in and watch them make the Muppets and everything. But I think that became when they kind of blew up. Mid-70s. I think they kind of went, we got to stop that.
Much, yeah.
Please don't touch the Muppets.
Well, I mean, it was a working studio because we also have Kaufman Studios nearby as well, and Silver Cup. Like we have a bunch of Silver Cup is where they filmed Highlander. So if anyone's asking, so so we have those studios
Russell
here. So,
Mulcahy.
yeah, it was a whole working studio system here. So that came as a surprise to me. So.
Cool. Nita.
Muppet babies make our dreams come true. Yeah.
His name was on that. Yeah.
Yeah. That's when I made the connection.
Right.
That, oh my God, he does all of this.
Right.
Yeah.
Is that the same as a grown-up Kermit?
Yeah.
Oh, and that wasn't even his idea.
No.
That was actually associated with Marvel.
Yeah.
Really?
Remember at the beginning when Spider-Man would land on the logo? Yeah.
Is that right? I don't remember that.
Yeah.
But no, that's what I would have gone to. Was actually Muppet Babies. Just Gonzo's door. Every time he opens the door, is something weird. Whatever the case
play
is.
That so bad, but I know I'm going to get copyright.
Yeah, no, yeah. This was a tough show to find clips for.
Well, it came off.
They're all practically owned by Disney, and
Disney's watching right now, going, "Go ahead, make a movie."
They're going to ban you in all countries.
I'm already talking to my lawyers.
Well, you see, the thing is, we couldn't do the Muppets. I'm not positive about any clips from like the Dark Crystal or whatever the case is. Disney doesn't own those.
Right, but I still don't want to push it because I've had Sharon.
Because
this was
because Sesame Street is owned by the Children's Television Shop.
Yeah.
Right. And then it's like Disney owns the Muppets.
Well, now I think Sesame Street might be owned by who was it?
HBO.
Not Warner Brothers. Yeah, it might be.
I
Warner
know that
Brothers.
they became an exclusive. To
yeah,
HBO.
no, I wouldn't. I don't want to mess with anything. You see Henson, that's good. That's it. Automatic flag. I'm sure. We got flagged last week for our Mr. Robinson clip at the end.
Yeah.
All the shit we showed. Everything I showed. What got us was the very end, the skit, Mr. Robinson's
Saturday Night Live
neighborhood.
sketch.
Yeah. Did you not?
Was it because of
it's
Eddie
NBC.
Murphy, I think?
Well, it was NBC.
Yeah,
that's
it. It was NBC.
And it was actually NBC that came at me, and they blocked the whole fucking video. I had to go.
They've come at us before and done that before. So don't mess with the
That's
networks.
why I couldn't find it for a hot minute.
Well, we weren't talking bad about it. We were kind of praising it.
In
But
Florida.
okay,
Yeah,
whatever.
right. But,
I mean,
It's like we're giving you guys attention. We're not trying to.
Yeah,
they need
God
attention
forbid
from
you
us.
put
That's
your
what's
stuff
up.
out there.
Exactly.
Hey, one day they'll be.
They got
thanking me.
attention. They got attention when it said NBC has banned this broadcast.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, pretty much.
They
Yeah.
didn't need our lousy 140 seconds at the end. They took the whole damn thing.
They did. I was
60
like,
views
holy
is
shit.
too many for us.
Yeah. So this is the reason why logically we should have opened up with Mana Mana, but no, then there would have been no
There you
show.
go.
But yeah, for me too, it was probably Muppet Babies. And one of the things I specifically remember are the McDonald's toys. Believe it or
Yeah.
not.
I remember those.
Are you talking about
Which-
the Christmas plushies or the actual
No.
hard plastic ones? in
They
the
did
Happy
have the
Meals?
plushies, but no, the ones they used to have, like Gonzo was on the tricycle.
Oh yeah.
And,
Yeah,
you know,
the little
the little-
Trinket, the Happy Meal trinketing toys that they
Right.
always have.
let's
that
say we
were
got the
higher
ch-
quality than the big money toys nowadays.
Yeah.
Those
Yeah.
toys, the ones you could
Also-
fucking step on, and those bitches would be like breaking your feet and still fine. Yeah.
Mhm.
Now,
Also, Mana Mana was the song that my father would constantly annoy us with.
God.
Genuine earworm. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Tom says the Muppet Show was his. Said he's 47, so I remember the Muppet
Right.
Show. And of
When it
course,
was
Will
new.
says, "Hey, Will."
Yeah.
Peter Brown said had an interview at Ha for Muppet merchandise in the early '90s. Still have the character model sheets they gave me after the interview. Alas, I didn't get the position.
Nah.
And if they held any type of standard that Jim held, because Jim used to check when it came out to Sesame Street merchandising, he would check all the merchandising himself. Like if like just the design now. If it didn't live up to that standards, it got axed real quick. He ended up having to finally outsource that
And
like
Big Bird
decades
stuck
later.
around.
Yeah. It had to look good. Let's see. I saw a show where Henson wanted to use the Muppets for adults, but he kept being
Yeah,
forced by
that's
networks into
that's
doing
exactly
shows
what
for
happened.
You
kids.
see, and the ironic thing about it is that Mana Mana is an Italian song that was originally broadcast on a Swedish sex show.
Well, you know,
Daphne.
Who else would know that here? That's
Well,
awesome.
Hey,
what-
Piker.
like
You know,
okay, for instance,
So Jim Henson was always kind of pushing that boundary.
well, there's
Well,
a couple
look
of
at
things
the
there.
Muppet Show. They were kind of,
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
Well-
kind of like the Flintstones was. Just
Well, Miss
throw in
Piggy
that
damn near
line.
raped Kermit every week, so
well, yeah,
you
that's
know.
true. Yeah.
You can't rape the willing. Okay.
Right.
well, I don't know. He wasn't too.
Ah!
Well, he was unwilling. He was unwilling.
But adults really
Sometimes-
enjoy the Muppets under
sometimes
the
no
guys watching
means
the kids.
yes.
Right.
Sometimes.
Well, the thing
Sometimes.
about it was the whole thing that got the Muppet Show. It took about 15 years for him to get the Muppet Show because he was trying to destroy that stigma of puppets being just for kids.
Yeah.
Right.
And Frank Oz would tell you straight up. And I was watching an interview with him the other day from a couple of years ago. He said they weren't doing anything for kids. Everything they did was for themselves.
Oh,
he
yeah.
said
Yeah.
he said, do you know what kids want? And the guy's like, well, I have 3 of them. I have no idea. Yeah, exactly. Nobody knows what kids want. We don't know what
Kids
kids
don't even
want.
know what they want.
That's what he said. And he said, so we just did, they were
What I
entertaining
want.
themselves. And that dated all the way back to Jim and his wife, Jane, when they first started together.
Right.
Let's see. Back in the cereal box, John Pike has joined us.
Hey,
Hey
Mr.
there,
Piker.
John. Hey there, friends and foes. This is Pike. Everything I know about producing a live show, I learned from Jim Henson and the Muppet Show.
Yep.
So anyway, I kind of want to, Randy, I'm going to lean in on you on this. The other day we were talking about Jim Henson when he was younger, you know, what he was doing or whatever, and somebody brought up a sock puppet. But in all honesty, he didn't have anything to do with puppets. He wasn't interested in puppets. He never went to a puppet show, nothing like that. One thing that did interest him, is is this right here.
Pogo.
Oh, Pogo. Yeah.
Tell us a little bit about Pogo, Randy.
Well, Pogo is really Walt Kelly's baby. That back when Pogo started up, to have a comic strip syndicated in the paper was the ultimate for a cartoonist. And Kelly had done comic book work and illustration work and stuff like that in the past, but to have a comic strip was everything. You know, back then you were made, because there were so many newspapers out there looking for good comic strip content. Pogo was really his political platform. It was Doonesbury before its time. Political situations told through funny animals, and it's really an example of the greatness of sequential art, of the themes that you could cover, the stories that you could say, as adult as you could ever want to be, only told through animals you would find at the Ophikanofi Swamp.
And so basically, Pogo was kind of the center. He was your level-headed
Pogo
one.
was the straight man,
right? And everybody else was kind of
everybody else was crazy around him.
Do we see a
had
theme
different
here?
phobias, different things going on, and depending upon the political situation at the time, because I believe it's Fantagraphics has gone through and reprinted a lot of the early works, and it's annotated by I don't remember, it's a guy who was a Walt Kelly specialist though. But the back of the book has this thick explanation, only almost going strip for strip, explaining the political situation of the day, and that strip reflected.
Right. Well, the issue comes in because you're looking here, when you look at Pogo, you have the one straight man and all these zany characters, right?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's basically the Muppet Show. You had Kermit, he was your center, he was your straight man,
yep,
and everybody's around it.
Yeah.
But another thing that it did, it reached over. Not only could kids read it and enjoy it, so could adults.
Well, it was lighthearted enough. I mean, the jokes were funny enough, the characters were funny enough that a lot of the political humor would go right over their head.
Right. So this, and that's the thing. So you were appealing to both of them.
Back then, comic strips weren't written down at all either. You had hardcore adventure strips. You had, big time gore and like Dick Tracy, big cops and robbers action going on. And a lot of the humor wasn't, none of the humor really was dumbed down. That came much later.
Right. Right. So what ended up happening, what had happened was, the puppet club at Jim Henson's school, I think it was high school. I might be wrong, but high school, middle school.
You had a puppet club?
There was a puppet. I know, right? I'm like, what? How did you get a puppet club?
High school didn't have a puppet club.
Barely
this
had
was
an
before
art club.
cable, back when you found ways to occupy your time.
Yeah.
So he joins
All
the
we had
puppet
is socks.
club. Right.
That's all we had.
Sure.
I'm sure they had socks.
Some were sticky.
But back in the early days of television, you had
This
puppet
matches
shows almost on every station. So
Wrong show.
almost every station had their own set of puppets that ran around. Around here, we had a horse hand puppet named Hoss.
Of course.
Anyway, so basically, he joins the puppet club because he hears
Kukla, Fran, and Ollie came out of that era too, and Beanie and Cecil came out of that era as well.
Yeah, that's okay. We'll talk all about them next week when we kind of really dive into the puppet thing.
Howdy Doody, yeah.
Oh golly,
Super
That's-
Mary.
Time.
Yeah.
So because the puppet club was going to put on a pogo,
Pogo the
Cool.
Clown.
Yeah.
show, that's how we ended up with Jim Henson starting to learn puppets. Still didn't like them, but he was in puppetry.
Well, there were a lot of people that were influenced by Kelly's work,
Right.
and,
John Wayne Gacy.
Kelly and Barks and Gutferson, that kind of stuff. Maybe not John Wayne Gacy.
Well,
His clown name. His clown
yeah.
name.
Yeah.
Pogo's big slogan, though, is "We have met the enemy, and he is us."
Oh, that's deep. Actually, it really is deep.
Well, it wasn't made necessarily for kids, like I said.
Yeah.
Kelly did a number of books. He did, while he was doing the comic strip, did a number of comics of Pogo while he was doing the comic strip as well. Just merchandise the heck out of the characters. It was very popular in its day. Yeah.
So basically, anyway, he goes to the club. But there's a call at the local television station, because from what I've learned from Mr. Rogers, if you want to be on television, all you had to do at that time was just go up to the television station.
Yeah.
Hi,
And
friends.
just
Can I be on
television.
TV?
Sure.
Pretty much.
Why not?
Every station was
Party.
mostly independent, and it was very much like your public access cable
Yeah.
at times. Yeah. Some
But,
weird independent programming in those days.
But in the spring of 1954, Jim found a chance to get on TV, which was his religion. That's what he liked. He wanted
Right.
to be on TV. Or work in TV, not necessarily be on TV, which is kind of like, so no, it's supposed to be puppets. You're supposed to be born with a puppet in the crib. You're supposed to be ventriloquist and everything. But
what he really found the most fascinating was the whole, I guess, like psychology of advertising and commercials. That's
Right.
why that's why it's like he went into commercials, because that's what and that's why the Muppet Show is kind of formatted the way it is, where it's like he kind of knew how to hit those beats to get in a very short amount of time. But even before the Muppet Show, that's kind of how he came up with the format for Sesame Street.
Yeah.
oh
Where
yeah,
it's
yeah.
like he used what he learned in advertising and making commercials in order to make these little segments that he knew kids would be able to absorb better.
And even before that, you had vaudeville, where you had to try to keep the audience occupied, or
Right.
else you'd get a tomato flying at your
Yeah.
head.
Uh-huh.
So you always had a quick punch. The comedians would always come out and hit, run.
Right.
Boom, boom.
You know?
Yeah.
Yeah. Boom, boom. Exactly.
Well, remember we were talking last week about how Sesame Street is set up, and one thing that they tried to do with Sesame Street was, of course you had your little segments, but they would have the humans in one world, they would be on the street, but the Muppets and all the other things would kind of be separate, and they would do it. And they were basically their idea was to format it after laugh-in. Like each segment would play into the next segment. But what they found was when the adults came up, the kids stopped paying attention. They didn't give it to him anymore.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yep.
Short. Yeah.
So suddenly Oscar and Big Bird were on the street.
They
Yeah.
basically had to go to the
Yeah.
street. Yeah. I don't know.
Literally,
Sure.
they're
Grover.
living on the street.
Yeah.
Literally. Both of them. Just
So
one in a
there's-
trash can. The other one had a nest around the corner.
I always, of course, remember Grouch being green, but he was orange at one time. Does anybody
Yeah,
remember him orange?
Well, I mean, that
I don't remember him
must
being
have
orange.
been.
Yeah.
I kind of remember no.
Back in
not-
my day, he was green.
No.
It was
Well,
shag
I know
carpet.
historically he probably started off as orange and then turned green. Not that I originally saw an orange Oscar.
Cookie Monster had fangs,
Yeah,
but they
Cookie
wanted to
Boy.
make him less intimidating to children.
Right. Yeah.
So,
I would have assumed it was the sugar in the cookies.
Yeah, his fangs
That-
fell out.
Don't eat.
Yeah.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. That's
Cavities.
bad for you, kids. Okay.
I always thought the count would be rather scary to kids because of the
No,
thunderclaps
actually,
and
no.
whoa, kids fun.
He
was always-
never did. In fact, the Count was actually one of my favorite characters when I
I
was
like
yeah.
the
young.
Grouch.
The
Well, all
funny-
the kids
find
love to be
disappointing
scared
what-
back in those days, or back when you're young like that.
Yeah.
Anyway, it's fun.
Yeah.
I find that
Also,
my
it's
life
just
has been
the one
modeled
drinking
after the
blood.
Grouch.
Ask Mitch. Yeah, he writes for her.
You see, the funniest thing that I learned about the Count is that it seems that a part of vampire mythology, how you can stop a vampire is
Yes,
by dropping something.
Right.
And
Yeah.
it
Right.
seems that they, like vampires, end up with a compulsion to count whatever you dropped. So it's
the
like
Rougarou too.
so now so it's like, oh my god, that's why the count counts.
I never thought
Wow.
about that.
Never heard
I
of that
never
before.
put that together. Yeah, remember the werewolf thing where you drop some, or they had
It's the-
like the
Yeah.
The
what was it,
Rougarou,
the
you can't
colander?
pass 13.
yeah.
That was always the
It's
red
also a
light,
vampire.
right?
It probably came from the
It's cats.
vampire
Yeah.
myth, actually. But I never
Werewolves would
thought
chase
about that.
Vampire and werewolf myths kind of cross over all the time.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I never put that together. The count. I always thought, they called it. He was a count because he counted because he was a count.
It's count, right?
But
That's
no,
what
but
I
that
thought.
makes
Well,
sense.
they fucked up because I saw an episode where the number was 15 and he made it.
It's 15.
What?
Well,
He likes
You have totally destroyed Sesame Street for me. Thank you so much.
yeah. Well, the thing is, when people call him Count, are they referring to his title or his name? Because his name is Count von Count.
right. That's true.
Oh my god, my brain.
I really.
And if
That's
you really want to mess your mind up, why is a European count living in a random urban borough shouldn't be. He'd be living in a castle in Europe.
Well, Brooklyn, man.
Was it?
Don't try to think about it too much. Yeah. Everybody's in Brooklyn.
Exactly.
everybody's
Come Ellis Island. That's all.
But you see, that's
It's a
what
tax-
I
it's
really
tax write-off.
enjoyed about Jim Henson is just like how kind of random the humor is. It's kind of like it's kind of like British humor, where it's like British humor is very non sequitur, but Jim Henson's humor was very random. So it's like, yeah, you would have like these weird little connections that had nothing to do with each other, except for the fact that they were funny.
Yeah.
And the one thing that I really remember from the museum over here is that they were showing a little thing where how Jim Henson kind of figures out his little vignettes or whatever, that those little shorts that he does. And he says that every story has one rule. If you can't figure out an ending, someone either has to get eaten or explode. So that's why you have a lot of Muppet segments where someone gets eaten or just randomly explodes because they go like, screw it, we can't think of anything else. Blow them up.
Yeah.
That explains a lot about Grover's chicken.
Right, So
Yeah.
once I heard him say that, because it was in an interview that they were broadcast, it's like, oh, now it all makes sense. That's technically not quite as random, but it is random.
Well, they used to do what was it, Wilkins coffee ads, and you had Wilkins and Wilkins. And when Wilkins tried to get Wilkins to try coffee, and Wilkins wouldn't try coffee, he'd get blown up.
Yeah.
Set on fire. It was just
very, very violent.
and if you get a chance, if anybody gets a chance, there's a documentary on YouTube called "Of Muppets and Men," and in that, Jim Henson talks about how he can't stand violence on TV. He doesn't like violence on TV.
But he'll burn a puppet.
Well, see, the thing about it is, to him though, puppets aren't real.
Right.
Yeah.
What?
It's like Looney Tunes.
Their hand goes somewhere.
Sorry, Mitch. Sorry.
Well, they're not blowing up the actual hand.
You mean Kermit's not a real frog?
But
those are ping pong balls instead of eyes, Mitch.
That actually is.
But that kind of makes sense too. The fact that he didn't go for a certain type of realism. Like the Muppets, you know that they were fake,
right?
But it didn't matter. It's still Kermit. Like I read about the celebrities that go on the show, and it's like, and they see, the puppeteers there, they see them there, but the second they put on the character, all focus is on the character. All they can, it's like they suddenly don't see the person anymore. Jim Henson puts on Kermit, all of a sudden nobody sees Jim Henson anymore. They see Kermit.
Yeah. Which is it's crazy. And I think what it is because they were he had said at one time that it's kind of like wearing a mask.
Right.
He used to do these masquerade parties. And I think for him, wearing those masks were or wearing the puppets were kind of a way of being that masquerade, being that different person.
It's like the ventriloquist dummy. Charlie McCarthy went for years on the radio, was a ventriloquist.
Uh-huh.
How does that work?
Right.
Seriously. But it was funny. He was great. Yeah.
But because they're such believable characters, like Frank Oz would do, like he had a whole backstory for Miss Piggy. Like she grew up on the farm. Her dad died at an early age, but her mom didn't really like her. And so like
that explains a lot.
Right. It's not like these weren't just like happy, she grew up with little piggy brothers and sisters. No. She had a bitch for a mother.
Tragic tale.
Yeah. No, that was
Love and
I
loss.
think it's very, you know what it is? It's very New York. You could tell that these guys are from here.
New York.
They're from New York.
Yeah, because that backstory really does fit. Like the character of Miss Piggy is that kind of like Broadway actress that's wants to be the center, wants to be center stage, and who's constantly after the head of the studio or whatever.
I wonder
Hey,
if you go
Kermit.
back and you look, because Miss Piggy wasn't at the forefront when the Muppet Show started.
No, yeah.
And if you go back and look, you had a couple of starlets that were the first, they were friends of I can't remember the guy's name who owned the not the studio, but the place that put them on.
Well, I know Scooter was his nephew.
Scooter was no, Scooter no.
Scooter was the nephew of the guy who owned the theater.
No, I'm talking about in real life. I'm
Oh,
talking
in real
about
life?
the ones who
Oh,
the
I'm
ones who
literally
actually-
talking Muppet lore.
Yeah. So
He's bringing up
Yeah,
Scooter
was-
over here.
Muppets aren't real.
Yeah, I should know.
Scooter, which
They're
is like
real
base.
enough.
Scooter, if you ever see Richard Hunt or hear about Richard Hunt, the one who created Scooter, it was like a carbon copy from what I understand. like to the point like Jim Henson would have to tell him to go away just because it was like, but what was I saying? Now I forgot. The guy who owns
The studio.
it was a
The real
London
Scooter.
it was a London company that put on the Muppet Show. And
ITT, I think it was.
Mm-hmm.
or AV maybe I can't remember. I didn't even put it in my notes. That's how important.
ITT or IPC, one of the two.
Right, yeah. I always
Had
remember
the
it.
diamonds that would spin in
Yeah,
line.
it was always, yeah.
But he had friends in the business that would come on, and so I kind of wondered, did Frank Oz maybe glean a little bit from them and kind of added that into Miss Piggy?
Who knows? Yeah.
Probably.
You know?
But these guys would do so much to put themselves in this character. Like for instance, like this scene here. Here you have Miss Piggy on the couch with Roger Moore.
Oh, yeah.
But that's not what's happening, really. This is what's happening.
Well, yeah.
Where's that hand going?
Yeah, exactly. And Frank Oz is underneath this couch. I wish I had gotten a better picture of it. And again, it's in that documentary if you go watch it. It's like 51 minutes long. And it's really interesting because Jim Henson's the one that did the documentary.
Okay.
So he's basically getting in this little hole, in the stage. And then they pull the couch over him, and he's like sticking it. Can you imagine having to stick your hand up that long? Because everything had to be, it was about 18 inches over your head. That you had to, oh my gosh.
I've been.
I
on
wouldn't want to be
phones-
punched by one of
to
them.
the craft.
Yeah.
You know? That's what
Just
it
another
was.
day.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, it had to be, and you had to, there's no way that you could not love what you were doing. I just don't believe it.
I feel like
can't
if you do that, it's something that you love.
Yeah, it comes
Yes,
through in the
Lord
quality of
LeGray.
the material.
Yes,
too.
Lord LeGray. He was a very strong supporter of Jim, and then another guy came in after him, Holmes something, and basically you could tell the whole corporate mentality that was about to take over Hollywood. I wouldn't say started here, but that company that Lord LeGray was head of, he got pushed out by another guy that came in, and they were very, very corporate, to the point that Jim went in to get $8 million to do the Muppet Show. He got it from Grade, right? He didn't need $8 million to do the Muppet Show. He wanted to do, he was going to, not the Muppet Show, the Muppet movie.
Right. Yeah.
And anyway, so
Yeah, it's like the AMSR sports super show.
I was feeling it too.
click,
Give me
click,
that
clack, click,
typing.
click, clack, clack.
You are all weirdos. Ugh.
I'm keeping that. I'm keeping that.
It's a good clip.
It is. It is. But anyway, so he ended up having to. He got $8 million to do the Muppet movie. He did need $8 million to do the whole Muppet movie, but he started taking some of that money and started putting it into the Dark Crystal. So, and what ended up, the whole thing's thrown me off now. But he ended up, what happened is, even though he got that money from them, when that other guy took over, he had to go and buy the Dark Crystal back.
Ooh.
Just to be able to do it.
Right.
But
Wow. Yeah.
one
What a
thing
beautiful movie.
Yeah.
Well, one thing I didn't know about that movie, I know Nita knew, was that there's actually a version of that movie that has no dialogue. It was
Yeah. He went on original Mel Gibson on it, and it was done in kind of like an original language, and they did initial screenings of it, and they said, "No fucking way.
Yeah.
We are not going to allow you to do this movie like this."
I heard the audience was like just
Right, yeah.
quiet. I
Yeah.
don't remember who was it. Universal that put them out. Put it out?
People were like, "Well, it looks good."
You know, because he really went all the way with the whole fantasy aspect of the Dark Crystal. He wanted it to feel like, you know, a different world. And
Right.
and it's like,
He
bro,
did.
it's like, bring it back a bit.
Peter says, or Jim Henson submerged for the Rainbow Connection in a container in the swamp water. Yeah, absolutely. Now, it was, if you were claustrophobic, you weren't going to be a Muppeteer. You just weren't going to, it just wasn't going to happen. I would never be a Muppeteer. Couldn't do it. But they were actually going to sink that thing in the swamp. It was like a diving bell, I think it was.
Oh, my goodness.
And they were going to sink that thing in the swamp, but they ended up building it on a sound stage and still sunk it. Still.
Right.
Oh man, I can't imagine. Just
Is it
thinking about it.
scary?
It is very scary.
Yeah,
very scary. But
I did not know that about you.
What about claustrophobia?
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
I didn't know
yes,
that.
very big time.
I think a lot of people have that. You know, I really do. You know,
Well, especially fat people. We
wow.
really don't. We really don't like that. But
I like tight spaces.
but it's interesting.
Tighter
I like
the
tight
better.
spaces too.
Don't make me
Wait.
play the clip again.
Wait, what are we talking about?
Tighter spaces.
Exactly.
Oh my gosh. I'm going to have to mute everybody. No, keep this up. But what's interesting about the Dark Crystal is definitely shows his passion for the art that he was not interested in when he was younger.
Right.
And what happened, he was doing a show called Sam and Friends. This is where the thing about Muppets, and you can see Kermit the Frog before he was a frog. Yep.
Yeah, he
that's
was
right.
a lizard, wasn't he?
He wasn't anything.
Oh.
He was abstract.
Yeah,
In fact,
yeah.
they ended up frogifying him for something called Tales of Tenderly. What was the name of that?
Okay. There we go.
Tinkerdee. He ended up getting kind of frogified, but
Frogified.
yeah. Anyway,
I'm surprised you're not used to that. I'm sure you sleep right through it now.
not during the show.
Do you want to be broadcast other places too?
Yeah, that's the thing. You know, she's
Always
she's telling the world about.
Always working.
That's
About
fine. That's fine. I'm just going to mute you. So,
You do have a loud keyboard though. I have
Yeah.
to say.
it used
Sounds
to be
like
my.
one of those, sounds like one of those late '90s era keyboards that went clunk, 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 clunk.
It's like those old typewriters where she's like,
I know.
just hammer away. Maybe if you do that, it'll loosen those keys up a bit.
Anyway, I was saying, back to the point. He was doing the show Sam and Friends. He was trying, but he wanted to leave to be a painter.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, and
I do remember that.
he wanted to leave to be a painter.
Just like
So-
our friend Adolf.
Wow!
Whoa!
No!
Did some Jew girl
You know-
break his heart too?
Adolf was too busy painting fan art for Walt Disney.
That's right. He at least he liked and appreciated Snow White, right?
Yes, not Tolkien.
So anyway, so he decided.
I meant that sarcastic, by the way, just to clarify.
I didn't.
Wow.
Just imagine if art school was nicer, we'd have an entirely different world right now.
Well, you know,
That's-
okay.
If women were nicer.
Well,
Wow.
Well, the thing is, though, it's like you know,
A
like
sexist would say. Anyway.
one of the things that I really found interesting, that really, really stuck with me about Jim Henson's, going back to the type of humor and the type of work that he liked, was, and always stuck with me, was how his characters and humans like ended up just interacting together without it being separate. Like nobody questioned it. Like there was always a scene in the Muppet movie that always stuck with me that kind of like encompasses this whole philosophy.
Oh, you mean when they were out in the world?
Right, when they were out in the
Right,
world,
right.
and they go to the I guess I don't remember whether it was a studio or something, and it was I think it was a newspaper, and the guy who was running the newspaper, he had a bear for a receptionist.
Yep.
And there's like nobody asked, like, why do you have a bear for a receptionist?
That's one of my
course
favorite
you have a bear
characters.
for a
too.
Oh, don't worry about her. She's just mean.
Oh,
You know,
well,
it's
you
like,
know.
yeah, it's like, of course he had a bear for a receptionist. And it's like, oh yeah, oh, you're the frog, you have to go down to the office where all the frogs are. I mean, it's like it was just like that casual. And it's like, and that really, really stuck with me, that it's like the fact that you can have these whole mishmash of creatures and it's not unusual.
Right. Well, that's kind of what Fraggle Rock was.
Yeah.
You had these different. You had what, about 1, 2, 3, like 4 different worlds going on,
Right.
and they all intermingled at some point in some way, and it's kind of his philosophy. That kind of that unification. Everybody has their own world, but we all exist in a bigger and a broader.
Right. And also the fact is that just because you looked like a weirdo doesn't mean you didn't belong. I mean, I think to this day, everyone is still debating what the heck Gonzo is. Like for the longest time,
He's a
I thought it was
weirdo.
a mosquito.
He's a
For the
weirdo.
longest time, we
The Gonzo,
swore
yeah.
he was a mosquito. Yeah, he's a Gonzo. That's what he is.
Well, what's Skeeter?
Skeeter.
Yeah,
Well,
not all the
Skeeter is-
Muppets were like specific things.
Right.
What's
No.
animal?
Animal is animal. Yeah, you see,
Ah!
that's what it is.
Yeah.
It's like
Animal
they were
is
just
animal. Yeah.
all that was just all they were. And it's like, and of course, and also again, it's like the sense of humor that he had, like, because I really enjoyed the Electric Mayhem.
Mhm.
And
Me too.
took me forever. Again, it was like, look, it's like watching Mel Brooks as a child and then growing up and like, holy crap, getting all the jokes. Same thing
Hey,
with
he asked me to take my clothes off, and I said no way. That was
Floyd Pepper. For the longest time, I didn't understand. Like it never occurred to me that Floyd Pepper was wearing the Beatles' Sgt. Pepper uniform, and his name was Floyd because he was pink.
Wow. And this is why I love her. And Daphne, for your encyclopedia of useless knowledge. Okay?
Absolutely, a
Throughout his
fountain.
career, Gonzo has been called many names, including Gonzo the Whatever, Gonzo the Weirdo, and Gonzo the Thing. It wasn't until 1999, Muppets from Space, when
Muppets from
Gonzo's
Space,
species was correctly identified as simply an alien.
How disappointing.
But
when
when
you
and-
give
which
characters
was not,
origins,
I always thought he was a fried chicken, but that was just me.
which I'm not too sure about
Which
Muppets in
would
Space. It
explain his
probably
love.
was made to Muppets in Space was probably made to make some money for the
Right.
Henson company,
Yeah.
because I think
Times are tough.
Yeah.
I mean,
Because-
you got to consider
yeah.
probably the Dark Crystal and Labyrinth almost like bankrupt.
well they were
Probably.
they were critically panned.
Yeah.
They were
Yeah.
very critically panned.
Mhm.
Critics
But-
are idiots.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
That's
I
very
think
true, too.
back to the Gonzo thing though. But when you try to identify Gonzo, because Gonzo's whole thing was he felt down on himself, but he always tried to make himself special. That's what
Right.
the whole stuntman thing was about. So
Right.
when you identify him as something, I feel like that kind of took away from the character. Like-
He was and if you watch even the earlier episodes of the Muppet Show, he was like kind of like a performance artist. I'm an
yeah, he'd always
artist.
have some show going.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm an artist. I need to do
Shooting
this.
themselves out of cannons
Yeah.
and everything
I will
else.
tap dance with a flower pot on my head.
And let's face it, Gonzo had a thing for chickens. He loved
Yeah.
the
Yes,
chick.
he did.
Well,
Yeah.
He was
Hey.
definitely a chicken fucker.
Loved his
You're
chicken.
the ladies.
That's what I thought when I was a kid. For a long
Camilla,
time,
I think
like he's a
Camilla was
chicken.
the name.
Camilla.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, and
He
that's
was like a
also
rooster.
that's also another Henson trope. There's always a
Chicken?
chicken somewhere. There's
Really?
always a
Yeah.
live chicken somewhere.
That's because
There's-
chickens are funny.
They really
Yeah.
are. Just
Yeah.
showing up, it adds so like, and you know they had a guy just throwing the chicken. Here, go, be free. Just walk on the set randomly. Every
Oh
yeah,
no, but they don't want him to leave the set because
Right,
it's
there was-
later.
yeah,
There
there's
was a
always chicken.
skit
That's for the
where you
extras.
had this big, huge hen on top of on top of the building. Miss Piggy and other ones were in, and just hitting it, just pecking at it. So basically, she had to turn into Wonder Pig and blow up, stop the chicken. So yeah,
Again,
chickens were definitely a thing.
Eaten or you blow up.
What was crazy to me is like for Miss Piggy, I never particularly cared for Miss Piggy, but she was a hot ticket.
Yeah,
Like she was on magazines.
Everybody
or
loves
something.
bacon.
Right.
She had a nice
What it
rack.
was. Yeah,
Yeah,
nice
It's
rack.
like she was considered like a feminist
Rack of ribs.
icon, right? It's like a gay icon, and now she's considered an abuser. So how we come full circle.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah,
When-
that
when
pissed
the
me off when they
the
had
original
that.
Amber Heard
Mitch
before Amber Heard.
He died the
An
hero. or he
evolutionary
lived long enough
arc,
to
just
become
like
the villain.
Pepe Le Pew.
Yeah,
Yeah.
He
He got a raw deal.
He did.
You
He was French.
It's like that. I mean, well, watching. Look, the one thing that
Okay, I'm
I
French.
also appreciate when
Yeah,
they
whatever.
released when Disney re-released all of the Muppet Show episodes. Actually, there's only 2 episodes that they refused to release. And the thing is, though, what I appreciated is the fact that they didn't censor any of the episodes. They just have a little disclaimer, and then the fun part, the game that me and JD were playing, is that okay? Which is the skit that got the disclaimer?
Right.
You
Yeah.
know?
Yeah.
And usually it was just, oh my god, the telephone pole joke had me screaming. But
So there are 2 episodes they still refuse
Right.
to air.
So there's 2 episodes they refuse to air.
Wow.
Well, one of them because there's a song, which is also the reason why it took so long for the Muppet Show to be
Okay.
able to release,
Yeah.
is that music rights are like this Byzantine network that not even recording studios and know how to access.
Metallica
and
couldn't even
do
play
it.
their own music live on Twitch.
Right,
Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah.
So getting the rights to all these songs, so Disney owns everything now, so they
Yeah.
probably
Yeah.
own most of the recordings. So there was one episode that has a song that they can't seem to get the rights to, and they said that they would rather wait until they could figure that out and release it as the complete episode than take out that
Right.
That's
song. The second episode that they say this one will never see the light of day has a guest star, a British guest star, that turned out to be a pedophile.
Okay. Yeah.
Who
Well, no,
went
it
That's
to
an
would be
any
a
prison.
number
pedophile.
of people.
That took
Yeah.
a turn.
Yes.
Pedophile.
So they decided, it's like, you know what? We can skip this
Is it-
episode.
Was it
It was
I
a
don't want to
British.
say
It
his
was a
name.
British actor, but like I'm sure if you look,
There's
on
a lot
the
of
list
people from.
Yeah, I know. Really, it is. Entertainment
Anymore.
after
Yeah.
all.
Let's spin the wheel.
Yeah, it's like if you go on the
Lower
list
actors.
of it's like you go on the list, there's one particular guy. I mean, you can if you looked up the history of of Disney releasing the Muppet Show, there's an article that mentions it's the one with this actor in it that we will not release.
I was trying to find it. I don't know if it's.
Yeah, it's a Jim something, I think. But it's a British guy. It's definitely a British
Okay.
guy. They're like, he went in a-
Is he a musician or an actor? 'Cause
There's
he's
been a
a
couple
lot-
of them. So
he's-
A lot
he's
of
a
British
stage-
musicians have been caught.
I think he's a stage actor at the time. Because also the earlier Muppet shows had a lot of stage actors.
yeah.
Oh yeah, yeah.
So because Jim Henson was just like really in, like he figured that those would be the people who would be able to best work in the format that he was working in.
Plus, from
I-
the way I understand it, it was, yeah,
It's
it is.
He's not a
it is.
I don't know
pedophile.
if
He
that
just
was
likes
it.
to wear women's clothes.
Right,
Plus, they were like
He's
the
a
old
fucking
Batman show.
executive transvestite.
Yes, exactly. It's an
Yeah.
action transvestite.
I think it's G now. Actually,
They were like the old
Oh,
Batman
yeah.
show.
Yeah.
After a while, it was a badge of honor to be asked to be on the show.
Yeah,
Just
yeah,
because
Oh,
you get
yeah.
to work with the Muppets, you never said no. So
Mhm.
they could get whoever they wanted.
yeah,
You were a
I'm-
moron if you said no.
yeah,
back in-
exactly.
back in
Everybody
those days.
wanted to work with him. Muppets. Even when the show got shitty after Henson died, people still wanted to work with the Muppets.
Sure. Yeah.
Oh yeah, it was a staple. It's just one of those things. But after they pretty much fired everybody who made the characters or made the character special, you kind of go, it's not the same anymore, no matter what you do.
But that's corporations. That's exactly what it is. It's like Disney now is a hot mess. So
yeah, well,
Major hot mess.
when he attempted to sell to Disney the first time, it was to Eisner.
Yeah.
And Eisner was actually one of the reasons why the Muppet Show actually had a pitch show that they could show around.
Mm-hmm.
And which I think was pretty. I always like Michael Eisner. You can shoot me if you want to.
That was a very complicated era. That's
Only
for sure.
because he came into your living room every Sunday night as the poor kid with 3 channels and let you watch a Disney Sunday movie.
Well, it wasn't. But Eisner
That was my
also
only knowledge at the time.
There was
too,
2 people Eisner had to fight with at the same time. It was his partner. I can't remember the
Frank
guy's
Wells. It's Frank Wells and
not Frank Wells. That
Frank
was his
Wells,
friend. So, well, who's the other one?
Well, Frank Wells. was kind of like the main guy. He's the one that died in a helicopter accident.
Right.
And then the other one I think might have been it was Katzenberg.
Yes.
Katzenberg, who originally coined the phrase "faster, cheaper," which explains a lot during that era.
Well, yeah, because they said that was Jim Henson died before they ever finalized the Disney deal.
Yeah.
And that fell apart.
Yeah.
Of course, Disney would later own the Muppets, but
because
Katzenberg was the reason why it was so hard for that to happen.
Yeah.
But Henson wanted to sell to Disney because he wanted to see, and it's just the Muppets, Kermit, Fozzie, all of them continue on the legacy he thought Disney was going to provide.
Right.
I don't know if that's exactly what he would see today.
Because no one has the same vision over there.
Right.
For,
well, you
the
see,
property.
the thing is though, is that
Like Star Wars.
at the time Disney, felt that they weren't really buying the Muppets as much as they were buying Jim Henson.
Yeah.
That's why the entire deal collapsed when Jim Henson passed, because the very reason we wanted to buy the Muppets is gone. So the Muppets are so the whole price that they were selling it to collapsed and everything. It was just like, and then I think and then Disney backed out. And I think they ended up selling to a German company, and then Disney bought it from them. Eventually.
No, you can have the Muppets all day long, but without the heart.
Exactly.
I know the Henson company had to sell, but they did buy it back.
Yeah.
The Hensons did buy it back, but not Muppets. It was just, I don't know. Now that might have happened with the Muppets, and that might be how Disney got a hold of that. But I do know that. Remember we talked about the hard times that they had to sell. I heard something the other day on one of the YouTube channels, and they said, "Oh, well, Henson's kids don't even give a damn about his legacy or what or something around that." And I was like,
I mean, it's kind of tough. It's kind of it's. You're always going to have kids who it's like they kind of understand the legacy, but they don't kind of get it. I mean, because Brian Henson is very involved.
Things like
so was Lisa.
We don't care about the legacy, but we sure want that Disney check.
But no, that's not what happened, though.
It's like Frank Frazetta's kids.
Yeah.
But that's not what happened, though. That's what I'm saying. Is you kind of pin that on them. But the whole reason we got the Dark Crystal on Netflix was because of them.
Right. It was because of Brian Henson mostly.
Yeah, it was in the legacy. Well, Lisa Henson was
I think she was like she's the money lady.
Well, she was the executive of Brothers. She used to date Sam Raimi for a long period of time. So that might kind of clue you in a little bit of Sam Raimi's mentality because he was kind of a part of that family,
right? So. Well, you know what it is. It's kind of like the way Quentin Tarantino is married to Sofia Coppola. It's like you kind of have these dynasties coming together.
Right. Are they still together?
I don't know. I guess.
Yeah, Izzard.
Eddie Izzard.
He's been Lizard.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah. She.
Right.
I just assumed that was autocorrect, Donna. That's all.
That's true. Yeah, exactly.
Damn Google.
But like I said, it was very hard for them to try to keep up.
Right.
In fact, they're just now opened up with Shout Factory to start streaming some of the more obscure stuff, like The Storyteller, which is not so obscure now.
Right.
But other things. There's I can't remember some of the stuff that they're going to stream.
Right.
I don't know where, but so
Maybe,
you're trying
Disney
to find.
Plus, huh?
Well, the Storyteller's on Amazon Prime. Both versions of the story.
Those aren't Disney.
Right. Yeah. No, that's not Disney.
That's the Disney.
Yeah.
Dark Crystal,
God.
Labyrinth, and all that is still Henson.
Mhm.
And because they were putting out, they were still putting out educational programs. My son used to watch one where and this is kind of interesting, and I think this is where Brian Henson,
Sid the Science Kid.
Sid the Science Kid. It was
Yes.
CGI, but it was puppeteered.
And it was incredible.
What they would do is
Holding
they'd
up
have
green
these,
screen
Oh, with
puppets.
the motion capture.
yes, it's weird because it was still the cartoon, it was still CGI, but they would wear like these big suits and act it out like running in the playground or whatever the case. It was pretty interesting. I didn't pull it up because this was after Jim,
Right.
but you're also taking consideration. That's me being a deliberate troublemaker.
Oh, I remember seeing that show. That was people in
They look like Muppets.
there were people in capture suits
Yeah.
Yeah.
that were
But-
moving with the ping pong ball suits.
Yeah.
Yeah, but
that was being filmed, and then on the computer screen was the animation of the person moving.
Yeah, well, they had that, but this was more elaborate because it seemed like they had like a harness and everything. It was a big contraption that
Right.
they were using. But you have to take in consideration a lot of the technical stuff that you see, the animatronics,
Right.
Kermit riding a bike, everybody
Oh,
riding a
that was
bike.
No, that whole thing with the Muppet movie. I mean, Kermit riding a bike was a very big deal back
Yeah.
then.
But-
I mean, they were like, "Are we going to be able to do this?" It's like,
That was Brian.
yeah.
That was Brian went to school for engineering, so Jim took a real interest in the technical side of that kind of thing because that's what Jim.
Or was that
Yeah.
the Muppets? I think that was the Muppets Take Manhattan.
There's
I think
two of them.
Yeah.
The
With
first one-
bike,
The first one you had Kermit riding the bike alone.
right?
The second one you had Kermit, Miss Piggy, and then all of them
Right.
came in riding the bikes. Because Jim Henson, he's got to one up himself every
Right.
single
Oh,
time.
absolutely. Yeah.
But I see we're at the top of the hour. Let me go ahead and run a couple of bumps, and we'll take a look at maybe could be considered the first Muppet.
Uh-huh.
We'll be right
Sweater.
back.
Sweater. Spoilers.
Now on Sunday mornings, longtime independent comics creator Randy Zimmerman brings to you a podcast that talks about the lighter and more whimsical side of comics, the fun side of comics. That's right. Sunday Funnies is back Sunday morning, 9 a.m. on the Raging 2 YouTube channel and on certain Facebook pages. Check it out, won't you? Special guests, great talk, and a lot of fun as we work to put the fun back in funny books. See you there.
All right, and just a reminder to save 5% on your next Gemini mailer order by just using the coupon code RAGIN2. And if Jared has offended you tonight, especially the French, or you want to ask a question or have a comment for us to address on the show, Have an idea for a topic you want us to talk about? Email us at raginabc@gmail.com. Remember, there's no such thing as a dumb question, but our answers might be.
Why? French people are awesome.
Hold on.
I'm a little French. I took a DNA test. I know this.
I'm a little generic Canadian.
See, I would take one of those DNA tests, but I'm pretty sure I just come out all white.
Well, I did. I did. I did. The only part that isn't white is my northern Sicilian roots.
That's
just
a
come
whole
back
thing.
saying,
Yeah.
just come back
Yeah.
saying you're
Yeah.
white. It's just not. So anyway, I promised to look at the first ever Muppet.
Yeah, let's see that. Holy
Oh,
fucking
Yeah, the rats.
What?
It almost looks
Oh,
like
look at that,
Pogo,
he's
doesn't
French.
it? Look at that.
French.
And he's
I can
French.
see that.
It's a
Oui,
French
oui.
Pogo.
Oh,
Look at that
Oh, no
nose.
wonder he's evil.
Oh my god.
Damn.
I like croissants.
Golly, man.
It's called a
just
joke,
gonna leave
Internet.
this
It's
up.
called a
If
joke.
we get into a war, I shall run away. Oh, sorry.
But what I was saying is, he went
said
and
it, not
decided
me.
to. He's going to go travel Europe, right? He's only interested in puppets to be in TV.
Oh, croissant. Ooh.
So he's only interested in puppets to be on TV. Okay? So here's the thing. That's kind of like, if I was a puppeteer, I'd be kind of pissed off about that kind of thing. You're
Yeah.
only interested in puppets to be on TV? Really? So he
Well,
goes to
if-
Europe
if
to learn how to
Back in
paint.
those days, don't mean to interrupt, but back in those days, if you're a puppeteer, do you expect to go any bigger?
Wait.
Okay, I'll wait.
Uh-oh.
I digress.
Because he goes to Europe.
Uh-oh.
It's completely different.
Yeah. He goes to Europe to learn to be a painter. Guess what he discovers? Everybody in everybody in Europe goes to puppet shows.
Uh-oh.
And now his mind is expanded to the richness of puppet shows. So he said he's over here, he's learning the history. Now, mind you, the guy went over there to learn how to paint. And he was kind of trying to put these puppets behind him. And of course, he's a young guy at this time, maybe 20, 21, something like that. But let me see if I can find that one.
But I mean, I just find it fascinating that it took him a while to find this odd thing that he never thought he would have a passion for and create a passion for it.
Oh yeah, yeah.
You know, I mean that's kind of the funny thing. You know, like he was more interested in advertising, in painting
Hey,
and
Airspace
whatnot.
Entertainment.
And then it's like, oh, I'm actually really good at this puppet stuff.
Right. Well, I think when he gets over there, because I mean, think about it. It's just like comics. Here, where it's kind of like, oh, you draw funny books. You know, it's
I hate.
it's all superheroes or what. When
Right.
people say comic books to a normie here in the States.
Exactly. It's like, okay, it's like, oh, I draw comic books. Oh, which ones?
Yeah,
Have I read it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which company?
you seen
Yeah.
it?
You always
Superhero.
get the what's your superhero's name?
Yeah.
Right.
The superheroes.
Or if
What-
you have,
what's
I
the
got a
one
great
with
idea for a
powers?
superhero. I got a
Yeah.
great idea for a superhero.
Hey,
Man,
oh,
I
can
gotta
you draw me this?
The three things an artist always gets told. I have a great idea for a comic book. I have a great idea for a children's book. And can you draw my tattoo?
Yeah.
You know, and you joke, but I get that all
And
the
Daphne,
time.
I'm totally
Yeah.
about to ask
Yep.
you to do that too.
Right, exactly. All three.
Daphne, I got this tattoo idea, girl.
No, I'm dead serious. I'm
Yeah.
dead serious.
Yeah, I'm
It's a
sure.
furry.
But like I said, that's
Not
the
a
three
furry.
things. It's the three things we get. That's why I always say I'm a graphic designer. They go, what?
You're gonna graphically design a green man
Because
for
to
my
be
ass.
honest,
Yeah,
that kind
exactly.
of confuses people a little more. It's like,
Yeah.
oh, okay.
Right, exactly. It
Okay.
kind of stops them from like, oh, okay, all
Yeah.
right. Oh, that sounds serious.
Yeah.
But can you imagine? So now,
Can you design my brochure for me?
but he's going through the same thing with puppets. Not only does he have that mindset at first, but everybody else starts having that mindset. So it takes him like almost 2 decades to finally get a show that's going to cross the board for both kids. We all want to do that. We all want to have something that well, most of the time. Let's expand that unless you, but. And that's the thing, is where people will say, okay, comics aren't just for kids. And I think that's what happened to him when he went over to Europe. He saw this rich,
Yeah.
he talked to old puppeteers, he talked to puppet makers, he talked to the audience, and he saw the engagement that everyone was having with these puppet shows. Like if you ever see like a Punch and Judy,
Right.
and everybody's like, no, there's and that's kind of
Spousal
what he
abuse
wanted.
is very popular in Britain.
Absolutely.
And Canada and France.
There goes the French again.
Why are we always French? The poor French. Anyway, but yeah, so it's what's interesting. It's just there's these parallels, and you read that and you're like, oh, I totally get that. I completely understand where you're coming from. And now he's having to struggle. So what does he go and do? He ends up doing Sesame Street. Now, do you think maybe that Sesame Street didn't really help his case much?
Well,
Well,
Ralph and Saturday Night Live was between that.
No,
Okay.
Sesame Street was before that.
Well, you know,
Was it before Ralph?
well,
No,
Jimmy-
he wasn't before Ralph.
Not Jimmy Dean, no, but
No.
but Ralph was
I think it was because he
Well,
was working with child psychologists along with kind of utilizing his advertising skills and interest.
Uh-huh.
So I don't think that I don't think, or at least I'm not understanding the whole situation as him like going, oh, this is just puppets for kids. I think he was seeing it on a much larger stage.
He was. Right. Because that's where he pretty much exercised his camera, unique. But I'm just wondering. Okay, I'll give you a prime example. Kermit the Frog ends up doing an advertisement for somebody,
Right?
and there's a critic that has something to say about, oh well, we can see now it totally ruins Kermit for kids, and which is the essence of it. But because Kermit was appearing at that time on Sesame Street.
Right.
So I think it may have been an uphill battle at that point. Because even with Rolf being on the Jimmy Dean show, I never heard of the Jimmy Dean show.
Well, but the thing is, though, the Jimmy Dean show wasn't for kids. I mean, the thing is, though, the whole concept of this ruined something. I mean, no, it's like he's just on the Muppet Show now. It's not that, or he did a commercial. Although, yeah, I mean, it's just, I don't know. It's just, I guess it just depends, because I remember the big hoopla when Charles Schulz licensed Snoopy to MetLife.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess it depends on the context. But I mean, whether kids themselves are like going, oh, this is different now. I don't know if they actually do that.
No, well, this is a critic too. So that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
And that's what but
I said earlier, critics suck.
Yeah, well,
Right.
but for you, that's not a problem. But when you start looking at your executives and you start looking at your people and everything like that, and they're like, oh, I want to do a puppet show that's for everybody that also appeals to adults. Well, adults aren't into puppet shows. Thank you. Bye.
Right.
Same thing Schuster and Siegel had an issue with Superman was they didn't want to do it because kids weren't a very big target audience, but most of the people that read those books were adults. So,
right.
Well, any of those early funny books, really.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I hate that term, by the way.
Yeah. And I'm sure
that's because they were an offspring from the comic strips.
Right.
In the
That
papers,
were
and
funny.
they weren't made for kids necessarily. Yeah.
A lot of the stuff that is for kids makes
Peter
kids.
Jackson wasn't that concerned about puppets being for kids either.
No.
Yeah, we will definitely find that out next week when we talk about
Oh, we're going
puppets.
to talk about Meet the Peoples?
We're going to talk about puppets. There's a whole bunch of... Look, even Don't Hug Me, I'm Scared.
Oh,
come up in that
Oh,
too.
my gosh.
And if you haven't seen that, Google it on YouTube, but beware. Very
Right.
much beware. My kids
watch
are...
the
Again,
Yeah.
Google
Yeah.
everything that we
Yeah.
say at your own risk.
Yeah, right.
Also, please
But-
subscribe to some good virus protection.
Right.
But see, even with the Dark Crystal, like, it wasn't... It didn't really make the impact that he wanted to. But it really did.
No,
Over time,
Well, you see, the
it
thing
became a
is,
cult
over
classic.
time.
Over time.
one of the things, it's like I saw the Dark Crystal in the theater. My mom took me and my sister to go see the Dark Crystal
Yeah.
when it opened, and we came out of that theater, and I so remember my mother walking out. She had this look on her face,
Like, what the hell
and
did
she
you watch?
said, "No," and she said, "This movie is wasted on an American audience."
Oh, I believe
Wow.
it. I believe it.
Like she
Oh, I'm
just
sure it was bigger in
straight
Europe. Oh,
up.
definitely.
Well, the thing is, though, we were watching it here. We weren't watching it in Europe. I don't know if it was any better in Europe either. But the thing is, though, that she was just saying that
was
no,
well
this
received.
is wasted here. This movie is wasted here.
It was well received in Europe.
Oh, really?
It-
Okay,
it
good,
was.
good.
But of course, he didn't have that immediate
No.
gratification. So what he decides to do is he tells, of course, he's talking. Brian Froud is the one who pretty much inspired Jim Henson. And if you don't know Brian Froud,
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
which I'm sure you do, Brian Froud did a very familiar book, which I'm sure most of you would know when you see it. And I don't have the cover of it with me because I wasn't.
It's the Gnomies book. You see that's the thing. I think
Gnomies.
it's the Gnomies. Oh no,
Gnomies.
it's the gnome book. I think there's a
Gnome book.
fairies one.
There's a
that's
fairy book, yeah.
Usually
Yeah.
misappropriated to him,
Yeah.
but it's
Oh,
not.
yeah.
It's not his.
Yeah, that's why I kind of looked his
Oh no,
art.
no. Or was it the gnomes book that's misappropriated to him?
There, I think
Because-
the fairies book is his.
Oh, you
but
can tell
still-
he's a big influence.
Look at
Oh,
that.
yeah.
Yeah.
And well,
I've seen
of
a lot
course,
of Dark Crystal,
Froud is the one.
Okay,
that-
there's two books. There's a gnomes book and there's a fairies book, and one of those books are always misappropriated to, misattributed. There we go, misattributed to
Proud.
Froud. I'm gonna say I think it's a gnome book.
I think so
I
too,
think it-
because there was a cartoon about gnomes that was at the time, some Canadian cartoon, and I think it came out around the
Gary
same.
David the
Gnome?
gnome. David
Yeah.
the gnome.
David the Gnome.
Oh,
Yeah,
I love that show.
Me
No,
too.
I know we
Romeo and
forgot to
Juliet.
talk about it the other day.
Yeah, there
No,
was a
not
couple I
that
thought
one.
about after.
and yes,
Do that
I
one.
do, and yes, I do purposefully say gnomies because it's funny.
Gnomies.
Because it's funny.
And she says gnats.
Yes, I do. I do say ganaps. Oh, yes,
He is
and
silent.
ganaps. And ganaps. Because of ganaps. Actually, it's because of the Smurfs that I always do a hard G on those words.
Yeah.
You know, the
This is
purple
the- this
Smurfs
is-
with the ganaps?
This is the fairies book, yeah.
Yeah,
And,
yeah.
and so basically, and look, the reason why it looks so familiar. Oh well, yeah, of course it looks like he was inspired by.
Yeah.
Jim Henson wanted to bring this world to light. Yeah.
There we
Hold
go.
on, I want to put you on
This
the
is
big
the,
screen with
yeah,
that.
this is the original printing.
Ooh.
Right
Oh.
after we saw the movie, my mother found this book and she like had to bring it home. This is the original printing of the Brian Froud book.
That is awesome.
Yeah, and
Mhm.
I could barely open it. The spine is cracking.
Mm.
But the thing that I really like about this book is that it has these vellum overlays. So you have the
Oh, wow.
symbols.
Oh wow.
Oh yeah.
Whoa.
Right. Yeah, and it's like, yeah, I don't even want to open it up all the way.
No,
because
no, put it
Yeah.
away. Put it away.
it's like this is the original printing from, let me see, 1982. 1982 was a good year for movies.
Oh yeah, well,
The whole
The
decade.
80s was a
Yeah,
great
80s
time for
were
cinema.
great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
yeah.
so
whole
yes,
decade.
I was
this is-
2 in 82, so
Yeah.
yeah. So
So this-
for like
yeah.
us, Dark Crystal was always there.
yeah.
This
Yeah.
who is this? This is the Ritual Master. Yeah, so the Ritual Master, I remember on a previous show I had mentioned that it was the Chamberlain that they had at the museum. It's the Ritual Master they have
Ah.
at the
okay.
museum. This guy, because I always remembered the quail, the quail head. So they have him on display at the museum of the movie image.
We ended up going to the little museum we had here, and by chance
They
they
had the
actually
Henson
had the.
exhibit.
Well, yeah, but we didn't even go there for that. We found.
No, we didn't even know it was in town.
we didn't
It
even
was
know
it
just
was
so
there.
fucking awesome. It was one of the days. It was like, oh, life is
Yeah.
good.
But I
Yeah.
mean, which is really, it was just a small fraction of what you think.
Oh yeah,
But this, I mean, you got to think this is how important that is. They built there's actually a fashion company that did clothing based on the Dark Crystal.
Ooh.
So, these designs and everything were very. But what I think is really neat is that
Avant-garde.
Henson's collaboration. If Henson decided to go off on his own to make the Dark Crystal and make his own designs, it wouldn't have been as fantastic. The fact that he was so open to collab. They said that you could walk up to Henson and suggest something at any time.
Right. Well, because you can't do everything yourself. I mean, it's like that's the thing about like a lot of these really, really creative industries. It's a group effort.
Right.
You know, I mean, it's like you know, it's like we're in comics where it's like we're kind of used
Not
to
a Bob
doing
Kane production.
you know, it's like we're used to, you know, doing everything on our own. And it's only when you go to the bigger company. Yeah, exactly. On your own, you know, but that's kind of like, it's like, it's, you know, with Henson, it's like, you, I'll work with you. He works with Mummenschans, you know, he works with, you know, it's like he saw everything and everybody as a collaborator to the entire, I guess,
well, yeah, because if it, and my personal opinion is, as far as his spiritual, what do you call
successor?
it? No, not successor. Soulmate. His artistic soulmate, in my personal opinion, would have to be Frank Oz. And he attributes so much to Frank. And Frank brought so much. If Frank didn't bring like the Miss Piggy character or even Fozzie or Grover, you know, there's so many characters that Frank did. He saw Frank when Frank was 17 at a puppet convention, and he was so impressed. He wanted Frank to come to New York, you know, to work for him. Of course, he couldn't. He was 17 years old. but you know, when you look at Bert and Ernie, Bert was Frank.
That was the stained glass. Like I said, it was Jim Henson and it was Frank Oz, and the Muppets that they were holding in the stained glass was Bert and Ernie.
Yeah, yeah. See, because this is the Frank, Jim, and I think this might be Richard Hunt that's operating the other Ernie hand. So,
Dick Hunt.
Yeah. Oh, be careful. It's just, I'll tell you, but yeah, that's getting really. Anyway, ding.
Awkward.
Oh, okay. This here it is. I found it. Hold on.
Awesome.
So let's see.
But like even with Rolf, while you're pulling that up, with Rolf, he didn't create like he needed a dog. He sketched out this dog. And he gave it to a guy who worked on the Time Machine. You know, the old Time Machine movie? I can't remember who was in it, but I remember the movie. Oh,
the George Pell Time Machine?
Yeah.
So this is stained glass I would pass every day.
That's awesome.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
Where is that now?
Let's see. According to the Wikipedia,
Looks like it's in someone's house.
it's it's like they still have, let's see, the Henson Townhouse. It's on 117th East 69th Street.
69.
Yeah.
But see, it's Sesame Street started in 69, so I wonder if...
Right. Let's see. As far as I can tell here, they still own that building.
Oh yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if it's kind of a museum of sorts.
Right. Actually, I mean, I'm kind of wondering. I mean, if it is
expensive in 1977. Holy crap!
Yeah, $600,000 from the New York State Pharmaceutical Association.
He wasn't hurting for money, that's for sure.
Right. You know. So let's see. And then this, so that's the stained glass. I wonder if it's still that thing. I'm assuming it's still there. But they had that stained glass in the window of their workshop over here.
That's awesome.
Yeah. Well, see, now so he sketched out kind of the dog that was going to be Rolf, right?
Right.
And he gives it to a guy, the Time Machine guy, and he takes it and he simplifies the sketch. It's Don Solon, who would end up becoming a Muppet, one of the big Muppet makers, for kind of designing a lot of the Muppets. And what I think is funny, he said that basically Jim gave him, this was constant, but for Rolf, gave him the essence of the character, and he pulled it apart, still keep that essence. One thing that they say is Frank and Jim had to be present when they put the eyes on. Because the eyes were like the most important part of the whole thing. If the eyes were wrong,
wow, that's the soul.
it was Don would call it the magic triangle, everything. But what's crazy to me is, what's crazy to me is on the Muppet Show they had, I think it was called the Whatnots, and they were just like blank face. They were blank, blank faces, and they just pin on eyes. And I wonder if they had. I wonder if they had
drawers. They literally had drawers that's all full of eyes. That had a drawer of noses. It's just.
You're thinking Sesame Street. That.
Oh yeah.
What? I can't remember what those things were called.
They danced.
I swear to God, it's like what I would have loved is to have seen like real time, like to be a fly on the wall when they're cut. Like we would watch the Muppet Show and see the most absolutely insane skits, and like what did the writer's room sound like? It's like when they were coming up, Kermit is on the planet Coosbane. It's like, just like, and then he explodes. I mean, it's like that the way the round table must have been insane.
It
would be cool.
You get a chance, go watch that documentary of Muppets and Men. You're not going to be there, but they'll show a little bit of it, right? Because it's Jim Henson narrating the whole thing, and I think that's what's really special about him, not just what. That's what I meant in the opening when I said discovering the uniqueness of others,
right?
Because it was through him, the guy that what is his name, Laser, who could articulate his vision, was an IBM executive. Jim Henson had a real hard time explaining to directors and everything what he was seeing, what was in his head, and sometimes he would get it. I think the Labyrinth was exactly point on because he directed it, but the IBM executive that he had done a couple commercials for early on, he went back and got to come and work on the Muppet Show and work with him because he could see his vision. It's crazy.
And he could speak corporate.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, because he was the guy, and they'll show you in that documentary too. He was the guy that would take care of the stars when they came in. Had the suit, the tie. He was the one that looked like the normal person that these stars deal with.
Right.
Like you got Jim Henson and everybody else kind of looking.
Here's weirdos. You're going to be dealing. Yeah, exactly.
These homeless people here, they're the puppeteers. That's right.
So it's okay. You never see them.
No, you always see them because it's always not there. But
just ignore them. They're talk to the puppet.
Exactly.
What's interesting is if you ever go look at Jim Henson's appearances on like Arsenio Hall, he would have the puppet right there in his lap. Yeah. No problem.
Like he had, it's really funny how like he wasn't afraid of breaking that wall. Like Disney has this whole thing like, no, you can never see, the suits, it's like they're not suits you're friends of, it's like you can't say, but Jim Henson was like, nah, this is what it is. Right. And I always
it's the magic right here.
Right, exactly. And on cue, the second he put that Kermit glove on, they would all be talking to the puppet.
Pretty much. Yeah. And you hear a lot of these actors and actresses talk about how easy it was to do that.
Yeah.
They just slipped right into it. It was like talking to him. They weren't talking to Jim. Look at the Johnny Carson interviews. Johnny's sitting there talking to Kermit. He's talking to Dr. Teeth? No problem. Well, what's interesting though, Carol Spinney, who played Big Bird and Grouch, got mad at Jim Henson one time because Jim Henson took an Ernie doll or Ernie puppet and just threw it on the ground out the way. And he got mad because Carol was a puppeteer.
That's disrespectful.
You don't treat him like that. Don't do like that.
A good way.
Right? Yeah, exactly.
No, but it was Ernie was Jim's,
right.
but
it was real. But Ernie was real.
Right.
So I understand that.
The
Oh,
only
cool.
way you're supposed to touch
Oh.
him is when you're shoving your
Oh, the
fist up
townhouse,
his
That's
very
really
nice,
cool,
very nice.
Oh, nice.
Uh-huh.
I want to
So
go
the
there.
townhouse is still, yeah. So the townhouse is still. I gotta go stalk.
Yeah,
Next
right?
time I'm in the city. I gotta go stalk it for research.
For
I'm telling
research
you what-
reasons and take pictures, Dad.
Yeah, exactly, yeah.
Pictures.
Yeah.
So basically, preparing for this, I read this book back here. It's by Brian J. Jones. Very in-depth book. And it took me about a month to read because it's very fine print, and it goes into everything, not just his work habits,
Right.
not just his philosophy, his personal life. By the like I was telling Mitch, who made fun of me, about how detailed they even got into about how he died, and it's crazy.
I remember that day too. I came home from school, and I wasn't even in the door, and my father told me that it's like Jim Henson died, and it's this. But
And
what
the
happened
world
was,
went black.
yeah, it really
I
did.
remember.
It really did. I mean, it's like I had a hard time with that. Like my actual father had to die for me to feel that way again.
Yeah.
Wow.
You know, that's how hard I really took it. And then the worst part is that it was also on the same day that Sammy Davis Jr. had died. So
Oh, really?
Jim Henson ended up kind of like a footnote on the news.
Mhm.
It's like,
Not anymore.
yeah, Jim Henson. It's like, oh, it's like, Sammy Davis Jr. Oh, and by the way, Jim Henson died too. But it's like, yeah, and honestly, one of the regrets that I have is that I never went to the memorial service. The memorial service was being held all the way uptown at, I think it was St. John's.
They
Um,
say
St.
there's a
John's-
cathedral, yeah.
And yeah, to this, that's one of my very real regrets. And the only reason, I don't remember how old I was, but that was all the way uptown, like 100 and something. And I was literally afraid to go up there. You know, just because it was such a long trip.
Same.
I was raised like veal, and it was just like, look, it's a stupid train ride. It's like it didn't, it didn't come together. So it's like, like I said, to this day, that's one of my very real regrets.
Right.
Not going to, I can't, like, I ended up watching. There's a broadcast of it on YouTube, and that is one of the hardest things to watch. Is that memorial service, because Jim Henson specifically said that he wanted it to be a very joyous event, and it's the hardest fucking thing to watch. Even just remembering it, it's like, oh, hold on, let me stop talking about it right now.
Yeah.
And the
goes into
fact that
detail
Kermit
about
was
it.
absent.
Yeah. You know,
He goes
that
into
was-
detail about it. They had the puppets, they had the Muppets, everything, and it's
But
and
not
they of course
Kermit.
they played out with
yeah.
what is it when the Saints go marching in
Right. Yeah.
was the
Yeah. Because that's, they wanted to keep it, yeah.
I think Harry Belafonte even performed, if
Yeah.
I'm not mistaken. Yeah.
Mhm.
And
Yeah.
that just goes to show you how, because there was one in New York and I think there was one in London too, if I'm not
I wouldn't
mistaken.
be surprised. But the big one was in Manhattan.
Right.
But yeah,
Right.
that was it's tough.
Yeah,
It
right.
was-
I actually do remember.
Yeah.
I was in a pizza place when they had it on the TV.
Uh-huh.
I remember
Yeah.
hearing about him dying.
Yeah.
It always seems, and I was like 9. I wasn't even 10 yet.
right.
And I remember that felt soon then. You
Yeah.
know, so
yeah, but
he was
really,
only
but that's
53.
yeah,
he was kind of young. Yeah.
Pneumonia.
Yeah.
I mean, pneumonia is no joke. Really, it really
What
is.
if
Now it's COVID.
Well, one of
Yeah.
his last
Sorry, too soon.
one of his last, well, no, that's a late night appearances, or his last late night appearances on Arsenio Hall,
Uh-huh.
and you can go find it, and he's got Kermit, and he's you can see he's faltering. He's not himself. He's not right
Right.
there. He even pulls out the frog in his throat joke,
Right.
which he beat himself up over because Kevin Clash went out with I can't remember what character Kevin Clash was, but went out to kind of
Elmo, I guess.
Elmo.
But that's,
no. Oh yeah, he
Yeah.
was Elmo, but that's not who he
Oh.
was that night. I fact, I'm not even sure Elmo was around at that point. Yeah,
I don't remember Elmo when we were kids.
Well,
Sad
He wasn't around.
fucking documentary too. You want to talk about a man that abandoned everything in life for puppeteering, and I mean, anyway.
well, yeah.
Richard Hunt.
Let's just say he's the puppeteer they don't talk about anymore.
Elmo was a hard character because they would try out
Right.
different ones would try out, and they tried Elmo. Richard Hunt kind of gave him a blah blah blah.
Right,
He was a monster, so blah, blah, blah. And Richard just couldn't feel the character at all.
Right.
Now, mind you, Richard's been doing this since he was 18,
Right.
and he just couldn't feel the character at all. He throws Elmo to Clash and says, "Here, maybe you could do something with this." And Clash takes in the
Howdy ho!
Yeah.
alternate.
Yeah, close. Yeah, really. Might as well.
But you have to hand it to Clash. Jim would collect
He was
puppeteers.
Yeah.
He was Splinter. Jim would collect puppeteers, and he would. You could not just go up and be a puppeteer. That just was not happening. It wasn't just putting your hand.
Je ne sais quoi.
Yeah, you couldn't just put your hand in somebody in somebody's
Send somebody.
Don't put your hand in
Is that
somebody's
how?
mouth.
Is that why he's the way he is?
Well, that's technically why they don't talk about him anymore.
Well, yeah.
So Elmo first appeared apparently in 1980. I don't remember him back then because I'm telling you, it was probably the Richard Hunt.
He made a few
version?
appearances long before he was a main character.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
My characters from
just
Sesame Street were like Grover.
Yeah, just like if you watch
Oscar.
the early Muppet shows, how Miss Piggy's voice changes.
Her
depending on
eyes
the
too.
kid. Yeah, it's like that they were still like they would literally workshop these Muppets on screen.
Yeah.
Sometimes. So it's like, okay, let's see how that works and then they make changes accordingly.
What's
Right.
funny about Miss Piggy, before I was even old enough to know Frank Oz, who was Frank Oz, I legit thought that she sounded like a female Yoda. So,
Well, that was the original
yeah.
voice that she.
Yeah.
That was the original
Yeah.
voice he was using on her.
That's before I even knew Frank Oz was Frank
Yeah.
Oz. So
Yeah.
Yeah, if you ever hear him like his actual voice, it's pretty close to that.
Yeah, it is.
Oh,
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, and he was in Spies Like Us.
Yeah,
I don't know if
he
you
was
saw
on-
that.
yeah.
He was the test administrator, and
She was always
his-
Frank Oz.
Oh, he
and
was in
his
Blues
voice
Brothers.
was-
Oh yeah.
He was
And
the
his
yeah,
voice
he was
is
the
spot
prison.
on.
He is.
Oh,
Well,
in
he
it
was the
so
prison guard.
much.
Blues Brothers. Yeah.
Oh, Frank. Yeah.
And
Well,
guess
like
who was
Hundreds.
crammed inside
Hundreds.
the
You go to
Yoda
IMDb,
costume?
it's in hundreds.
Huh?
Guess who was crammed in the Yoda costume?
A hand.
No,
What are you talking about?
Deep Roy. Learned that today.
That was a suit. I thought it was. I've always thought
No,
it was a
it was a
puppet.
puppet.
Swear to God,
It was a
so
puppet.
but there were parts where it was
Oh.
Deep Roy.
Oh, okay.
It was
well, I
like,
can believe that.
holy shit.
Well, I knew he was
yes.
around on the Star Wars stuff. I didn't know who he was.
I always,
Yeah.
I always assumed it was one of the Ewoks because I knew he was in
But-
Star Wars, but I
But you
didn't-
wouldn't have the animatronics and everything that we had today, like for the Ninja Turtles and everything.
Yeah.
The whole Yoda thing for Jim Henson,
Yeah.
because it was going to be Jim Henson. Jim Henson turned it off to handed
Oz,
it over
yeah.
to Frank, and who just fell into the character. Like he handed a sketch to Frank, and Frank just immediately took to it. But if it wasn't for Empire Strikes Back, the
Love that
animatronics that we see now, that it wouldn't have.
There was
Oh,
a
yeah.
lot
It was a
of
mess.
a lot of experimental stuff on Empire Strikes Back because
Yeah.
I forgot the animator's name. That he did Dragon Slayer
Same here.
to test out some techniques that eventually got used in Empire Strikes Back, but especially Return of the Jedi.
Yoda, I am.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
yeah,
Well, yeah, a lot of those techniques they still use today.
yeah.
So
Well, that was a hard push
That's how
into
innovative
practical
it was.
effects because there
Yeah.
wasn't computer generated effects.
Right, yeah.
Yeah.
And mind you, like Dragon Slayer still holds up.
Had some real
The
artists back
animation-
then
the
doing
animation
some
on
incredible
that
work.
really holds up.
Well, I think
But-
when you got to the corporate push, like what
Yeah.
we were talking about with the Holmes character coming in and the company, and everything. When you got to that corporate push, now
Yeah.
they didn't have the money or the finances anymore to examine it. Just get it out, get it done, and put it
Right.
up on
Yeah.
the screen.
Faster, cheaper.
faster, cheaper.
Yeah.
No, thanks for that. But and I kind of want to get into this before we leave, but imagine this. So Jim Henson, imagine this. Jim Henson decides he wants to do the thing that was missing out of the Dark Crystal were people. So what does he decide he wants to do? The labyrinth.
Yeah.
So now, imagine a labyrinth where it's not David Bowie, but it's Sting. That
Oh, thank
almost
you.
happened.
I
So
don't
Well,
know
he
if
was
Sting
busy
would have
doing
wore those
Dune.
pants the
Sting-
same way.
He was busy doing Dune.
Yeah.
Well, no.
Getting audled by his uncle.
What happened? Okay, he was going for Kevin. Remember when you talked about the Broadway Sting?
Right, yeah.
He was going to go for Kevin Kline at first.
Oh,
Because Kevin
God.
Kline at that time was a huge Broadway. Well, I kind of see.
I mean,
could-
I like
did.
Kevin
You
Kline, but
you have to. I guess you got to think about who was really, really like the hot thing at the time.
At the time,
You know?
mhm.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's what I mean. They couldn't have wore those pants the same way Bowie did.
no.
Mm,
No,
Well,
that
here's the
was
thing.
it.
we're still
If it
talking
wasn't
about
for
that.
if it wasn't for his son, yeah, right. There was a meme last night.
Y'all
Anyway.
nasty.
Was.
Y'all nasty.
Mm.
But there, if it wasn't for John
like
and
the
Brian
punch.
Henson, you would not have gotten David Bowie.
Right.
In fact, John came all the way from where I think he either came from England to convince his father that he needed to get David Bowie for this part. He said
Right.
because at this point in time, Bowie is an established actor. Bowie is an established artist. He said Sting is just a hot thing right now. Don't use Sting. Go for David Bowie. And what appealed to Bowie was the idea of writing the music
Right.
for Jareth. So,
Yeah.
and I don't think it could have been any. I can only imagine. I think for Sarah, they were going to have Helena Bonham Carter at first.
Ooh.
Damn, I didn't know that.
Wow.
Yeah,
Wow. She's.
they were going to have her, but
Jennifer
then they
Connelly's
decided.
way hotter.
Well, they would. Then
She
they
was a
decided
child
to go
then.
American.
Yeah, she was 14.
Oh,
Yeah,
well.
so she-
Well,
at the
now
time.
she's way hotter.
Oh, right. Yes,
Yeah.
exactly. Yes.
I forgot how old she was in that movie. Sorry.
Right.
Rocketeer is her peak. Go ahead.
Yeah.
Go
But
ahead.
Jennifer Connelly.
Yeah.
yeah, Jennifer.
Yeah.
No, the what was that
Actually,
other-
Mulholland Falls.
But they almost got Ali
in that.
Sheedy
Wow.
and Ali Sheedy. And what gets me is I don't know if you ever see Unbreakable Kimmy Schmidt or
Yeah.
30 Rock.
Oh yeah.
Or Ally McBeal, for that matter. It was the blonde in there, Jane Kaczmarek. Don't ask me what else.
Yeah.
Please don't
Kaczmarek.
ask me to pronounce it.
I know who you're
Yes,
talking about.
Jane
yeah.
Kaczmarek.
Yeah.
She
Yeah.
almost
Yeah,
played
that one.
Sarah.
that lady in that thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it just kind of goes to show you that all these factors working like a perfect storm. It wouldn't have-
Oh, yeah.
But the Dark Crystal was the mecca of the franchise, in my opinion.
Yeah,
The
I
actor
agree.
himself was
I
far
agree.
unappreciated.
To be
I think
fair, I'm surprised they went with Jennifer Connelly, and I love Jennifer Connelly. Don't get me wrong, but out of the actresses you said, she's kind of dull compared to them. But they were all
think she
young. then.
was
Oh,
Sarah.
you haven't
That's
seen
why.
her whole library.
Well, no, I've seen her
Of
library
films
since.
because
But he's
it's-
talking about at the time.
Yeah,
Yeah.
She was kind of.
Well, dude,
Well, she
okay.
was young then too when she did
She
Labyrinth.
was.
Well, yeah, I think she was
Very
like
young.
14.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
that was kind of the point.
point,
Yeah, it was
yeah.
kind
Yeah.
of the point.
The
I
whole
think they were
name-
kind of going for the Judy Garland age.
Yeah.
Like with Dorothy.
Right, yeah.
Yep.
Oh,
Yeah, but
God.
she
I
could
saw
act.
a Judy Garland video the other day.
Put a
that
cigarette in
I'm
her
not gonna
mouth and
talk
pop,
about.
give her some pills.
I know
and
which
Judy
I know
Garland could act.
exactly which one. I know exactly which one you're talking about.
All I got to say is Mickey Rooney
Lots
was
of
involved.
pigtails. Lots of
Of course,
pigtails,
Mickey Rooney was
right?
involved. Of course, Mickey Rooney was involved.
Of course.
But so let me ask this question: when you come to Sarah, do you think that Sarah was a well-rounded character? There's a lot of people that say she didn't grow during the Labyrinth, and that her character kind of fell flat.
Well, you see, the thing is, though, is that when you have such a presence like Jareth, it's kind of hard to look past him.
Exactly.
And I think
David
what
Bowie.
happened was that,
Yeah.
I don't. You see,
And I
that's
get
the
that,
thing,
yeah.
And I don't think that. I mean, and mind you, it's like as kind of like flamboyant as he was, I can say. I can see the idea that she wasn't a strong enough personality.
Yeah.
But the thing is that when you look
Yeah.
at the overall theme of the movie, which is about that transition, that really awkward transition from childhood to not quite adulthood,
Right.
you actually needed her to be like this whiny, tantrumy,
Go
you
look
know,
in the front of our house right now.
you know,
There's two of them.
yeah, it's like because
No,
in the
thank
end,
you.
I sort of love.
it's not that she
I make
kind,
the
it's not
girls.
that she grows, but she does end up
Oh yeah, you can't
with
imagine
a
anyone in that
better
role.
reflection of that transition. I mean, it's kind of like a more subtle thing that it's like, oh, that she becomes a better person at the end. I think what it is that, you know, here's this girl.
She was supposed to learn a
standing-
lesson.
But the thing is, it depends on what you think the lesson is. You know, because if you're thinking that
Be
she's
more
supposed to
responsible.
learn, not quite. It's like
But
because
it's not there. We look at the
yeah,
plot.
it's
That's
like
not
you
it.
see, that's the thing. It's like because the way I see it is that, you know, she reaches the end, and it's like, and all she is seeing is this abyss of adulthood that's before her, and
Yeah.
she doesn't
Yeah, I
quite
wouldn't
know
want it
how to
either.
maneuver that.
Grow up, Sarah.
You know, that's why in the end she still says, "I need my friends." You know, because it's like that lesson she's still going to be learning.
See, and that's exactly
Yeah.
why I feel like she was a real person,
You know, I
To-
mean, it's like,
because you don't have those character arcs.
you see, because that's the thing. It's like not everything is about a dramatic character arc, but the one thing that I know for sure is that I remember acting like that.
Right.
You know, it's like, yeah, I remember that. It's like, oh my God, she's so whiny, she's so bitchy. It's like, yeah, because you acted like that. I acted like that. I know when you know she's.
Did you have
act-
brothers
like-
and sisters?
I have a sister. Yes.
See, I didn't. I don't have
No.
that, so maybe that's why I didn't
No,
relate
you were a
as
brat.
much.
You
Yeah,
know,
yeah.
so
You
it's
got room
like,
to
you know,
talk.
I
and
was.
then it's like, right,
Still
and then
am.
it's like,
Yeah,
you
I'm
have
talking to
this
him.
whole
I know he's a
thing
brat.
where again, it's like, you know, here's this girl, she's on this cusp of leaving childhood, and she has this guy, this adult man, creeping on her on the
Mhm.
entire.
He wasn't wearing
Yeah,
underwear.
that was freaky. Yeah.
You know, I mean, and that was the point. It was supposed to be uncomfortable. Even Brian Henson said himself, it's supposed to be uncomfortable. This is not really a romance story.
Right.
Mm.
Oh
You
yeah,
know,
no,
I
absolutely.
mean,
No, this is a total
I'm afraid
creeper
what they would do
story.
with it now. If
Well,
I,
yeah,
if
well,
I didn't see,
They better
Never
not
be
do
made, no.
anything with it, Chris.
if I did not,
Yeah.
they are,
They better
they're
not.
going to.
They're
You
going
shush.
to.
maybe
Yeah.
not. Who
Eventually.
knows? You know.
But I will give it this way: when I saw, and I don't know how everybody feels about here, but when I saw the Dark Crystal: Age of Resistance,
Oh.
that makes me feel better for whatever they might do because of its.
Well, right. As long as the Henson Associates is doing it, I have all faith in it. You know, it's just that if they're doing it for companies like Netflix or you know, or whatever, and especially now like HBO is off the table too, you know.
Stay off network.
I mean, that's the only, like, I can trust Henson to do the work. I just don't trust these other companies to commit to it,
right.
Yeah.
which is the most. Look, I'm still salty about Netflix canceling Marco Polo.
I'm salty about anything they put on there, whether I've even
Right.
seen it, because why would I want to watch something if?
Thank
They're just
you.
going to cancel
Yeah.
everything
Thank
good.
you.
Yeah.
And that
That's
keeps
why I
keep
wait
the
like
crap.
3 seasons before I try to watch anything.
right.
That's
yeah,
the
Stuff
great
they
thing.
do
Yeah.
keep kind of boggles my mind. It's like,
Yeah.
But see,
why
that's the
would there
great
be
thing about
7
the,
seasons of this garbage?
Yeah.
No, right?
but that's the thing about the Dark Crystal. The great thing about that is they could pick that up right now,
Yep. and
no
be fine.
problem,
Right.
and it would
Nobody's
be fine.
aged, nothing.
I mean, because
Right,
look at Chamberlain was played by Simon Pegg
Yeah,
in this one,
the
but he did a
voice
good job.
acting, the
Yeah.
voice acting was incredible. I mean, really, everybody who worked on that project wanted to be there.
Yeah.
Exactly. That's why I
That was
said,
really, that's
beautiful.
really what I got a sense of from
That's
behind
what-
the scenes to the voice actors to everybody.
They married
Everybody
practical
wanted to
effects
be
and
there.
CG beautifully. Like,
Yeah.
you
It
couldn't
did.
even
Yeah.
tell. You know, it was gorgeous.
and that's why I don't like that people sit there and say, oh, the kids don't care anymore. Bullshit.
No, they
Shit.
do.
They can only do as much as money as they can do.
Right.
Sure
They're
they do.
trying to keep it alive.
Yeah.
And the fact that Netflix didn't renew that
Right,
is
exactly.
it's going to be
You can't tell me the
detrimental to
numbers
whole
weren't there.
thing. Oh bullshit! Yeah,
Yeah,
there's
Oh,
Yeah.
they
it's
were
there.
there.
Can't tell me.
They
were
were
there.
there.
Dark Crystal. I
It
mean,
was
come
the-
on,
oh,
the
it was
numbers
the
are there. The
expense,
audience is
yeah.
already there.
At first, you're like,
the
oh, I don't want
nostalgia
to watch
alone
this.
had the
And you watch
numbers.
it, they're going to ruin it. Well,
Right.
they were going to do that in like CGI animation,
Yeah, originally,
Yeah.
but it just wasn't working.
and they said no, we can't. You can't do
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
And somebody said it, no matter how you feel about the Dark Crystal, you will never take its place in history as the first fully puppeteered motion picture movie.
Right.
You won't do it, no matter even if you don't like it.
Meet the Feebles tried.
Even thematically.
Yeah, Meet the Feebles tried.
Yeah, you know, I mean, the
Meet the
type of
Feebles
movie.
was purposely a certain way.
Right, yes, exactly.
I hope
have
you're right, Tom. I hope you're right.
Too.
Yeah.
Hope you are
I have
too.
been looking for the petition to sign because it needs to be. Because
Well,
I
maybe
want to
we
see
need
what
to start
happens to
it.
the Gelfling, even though I already know what happens to the Gelfling.
Yeah.
and that's the thing too. It's like, yeah, we already know the ending to the story, but we don't care.
Isn't
I
that
want to
amazing?
see it
Speaking of
happen.
going back to
That girl
Essence,
lives. I mean,
But it's amazing that it was able to keep your attention.
Yeah.
I don't like prequels. I don't like
Right.
prequels at all.
Right.
But it was
It
able to keep your
depends.
attention. And if you haven't read the comic books, oh my gosh, the
They're
lore
great.
is fantastic.
I mean,
there's
I
a lot of
was-
care that goes into
The
it.
thing that really amazed me about what they did is how they made the Skeksis more absolutely depraved
Oh yes.
than, like, you thought they were bad in the movie, and it was just like,
They made 'em
holy
worse.
shit, they went there.
But with that one, they went to the point where it was like so Ren and Stimpy. There were points when I would gag when that fucker
The
was
snot
on
one?
screen. Yes, when
I
they're
think
in
she
the
died,
carriage
though.
and that fucking snot is all just, and I'm just like,
That was Aquafina, that who did the voice for that. I mean, it was just like, holy
Really, that's
crap.
the only good thing I've ever seen Aquafina in.
ugh.
But
Well, what do you expect from
Mark Hamill
Yeah.
killed it
Yes.
Oh, what as the what is with the
as a
scientist?
scientist.
Yes.
Yeah, Mark Hamill
Mark Hamill.
killed it.
Mm.
Yeah, right. It's
But
Mark
yeah,
Hamill.
with Simon Pegg.
That was when I was heard
Wong,
that Simon Pegg was Chamberlain. I had to double
Yeah,
think.
you know, it's like, oh, but what was his name? Something Wong, the guy from Doctor Strange,
Benedict.
who was also in
Benedict
Marco
Wong.
Polo. Yeah,
It's-
that.
I'm gonna have to go see if I can watch
he
Marco
played
Polo. I
the
never
general.
Margot.
Yeah,
Polo.
exactly.
Where'd he go?
yeah.
Oh, Netflix
There's
canceled
another.
it.
Oh, damn.
Ouch.
You know, but I mean, yeah, like I said, everybody,
Mitch was gonna make a
everybody
French
won.
joke.
Everybody brought their entire alphabet game to that,
Right.
not just their A game, just
They
everything.
brought the A all the way to the
Oh
Z.
yeah, all the letters. Oh,
Yeah.
look, my boys there.
You know, they actually wanted to have more. The guy we were talking about, the Holmes guy, wanted Jim to put more Skeksis in the movie and lay
Because
back
they're
with
so
the
sketchy,
Mystics.
they need more.
He said the
What?
Mystics are too boring, which is what prompted Jim to go and buy it. And with and
The
Jim's
whole point of
manager-
the movie are the. Oh,
Yeah, I
Jim's-
know exactly. That's the whole point. Yeah, exactly.
that was actually the main thing that started. That was the first thing that was laid down about the Dark Crystal. Was that point the two good and evil being
Yeah.
from one.
Right.
Yeah.
But Brillston, who was Jim's manager, had convinced him to merchandise Sesame Street, and Jim didn't want to do it. But he told Jim, he said, "Look, if you merchandise this now,
Yeah.
you'll be able to earn enough money to do whatever you want to do independently." So years later, when he comes back and he tells Brillston, "I want to buy the Dark Crystal," and Brillston's like, "Man, I don't think you want to do that. That's a lot of money." He said, "Look, you told me that if I merchandised the Muppets, I can use that money to do what I wanted to do independently."
Yeah.
And he turned around for $13 million and bought the
Here's
Dark
here's
Crystal.
the irony of that lawsuit, though. So yes, because up until that point, it was illegal to merchandise to make merchandise that specific from a show to children.
Wow.
It was Sesame Street. It was the Children's Television Network that brought the lawsuit forward because
Really?
they said that they needed the money from the merchandising to be able to continue funding
Yes.
Sesame Street.
Yep.
So because of that lawsuit, opening up those floodgates is how we got 80s cartoons.
Yeah.
Ah, that's funny.
Yeah.
And then the toys that from them.
Yes,
Yeah.
exactly. The whole thing about the cartoons being commercials for long form commercials for toys. It was because of the original Sesame Street lawsuit.
And the thing, all this came from.
Yes.
Oh, good.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So what can? Oh, so now and we're definitely. I knew this was going to be a long one, but
This is the episode we all want to be on.
so I would ask creatively, what can we pull from this? But I think we've talked about it. I mean,
Everything.
there's so much.
Everything.
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 What? Yeah.
It's like, I mean, honestly, when it comes to Jim Henson, what didn't he inspire?
Right.
You know, I mean,
Everything
it's
before
like,
him.
I mean, it's like, yeah, exactly. I mean, I could literally make a straight line from Ravenwood, this character, to Sir Didymus. Straight line.
Oh, right. Yeah.
Wow.
You know, so it, you know, I mean, and even just Henson's creative philosophies. Like, I mean, like I said, the whole thing about just all these creatures functioning together, and it's not unusual. I mean, like I said, that resonates with me. You know, it's a major point in
Thanks, Carl.
in my my creativity.
Right.
A lot of passion.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. Oh, what gets with the
Nita's learning French during the
and I
show.
think the thing about this is, and I
all that
told Nita
typing you
before, I said this might be a two-parter, and I'm not going to make it a two-parter because I do think that we can come back and do a show on the Dark Crystal, and we can come back later on and do a show on the Labyrinth and
just
all
on
these
that.
aspects, and that will cover that. So this will definitely be. We will be coming back next week. We're going to talk about puppets. That's going to go from all the way from Howdy Doody to Meet the Feebles.
And beyond.
And Madam and everything, because
I love
my
Madam.
God.
Oh my God, Madam.
well, I wanted the reason
Hopefully,
why
lamb chop.
yeah, of course.
Hopefully.
Which is sad we didn't bring up lamb chop last week when we were talking
really,
about the kids
right?
thing. But that's the thing, as I
Or
wanted to do
Sharon
the Jim
Lois and
Henson.
Graham Elephant Show. Never mind. Okay.
Right.
I
Is
think
that like a donkey show?
no, I remember the,
It's not it's not Tijuana though. It was in Canada.
Oh God! Someone out there come out with a puppet show for kids called the Donkey Show. Someone do it. I want that to happen now.
oh gosh, oh my gosh.
Hey,
Puppet master.
Make it
I am
completely
still-
double
He'll
entendre.
do it. He'll write
Look,
it.
I am still suffering from growing up watching George Carlin as a child and not understanding the joke about what do you call a female peacock. You know, and for the longest time, I kept saying the answer as if it was correct, and it is not. And I'm not going
No
to
one
say
told
it.
you.
Let me guess.
Hey, pussy.
It has a scene. And what's sad about it is we didn't even get into, and that's another thing. There's so much to cover here. Like we didn't even get into the Land of Gorch and the
Oh,
Saturday Night
right.
Live because they were so afraid of what Lord Michaels was doing at Saturday Night Live. They wanted Jim Henson to come in and soften it.
That's funny.
That didn't work.
No.
Totally misunderstood that.
Putting
Anyway.
Jim Henson on Saturday Night Live is putting gasoline on a fire.
But again, you can do an entire
Oh, I
episode
can do
on
more
Saturday
adult
Night Live,
stuff.
especially the
And look,
we
first
have
5-6 years.
several
Easy.
episodes.
Yeah.
We do have an episode about sketch shows coming up, and yes, Saturday Night Live will definitely have its own show eventually. Too.
Thank you, Tom.
Yeah, I kind of figured.
Yeah.
I didn't hear the joke, but
what I
that
thought
because
was.
George Carlin
Yeah.
host was the first.
Yeah,
host.
it's
Okay,
like,
never
yeah,
mind. That's what brought it
so
up.
don't run around as a 10-year-old answering that.
Yeah,
Well, I was the kid that honestly,
Especially
for
at
some
the
reason,
zoo.
for some
Wow.
reason, thought that the Ninja Turtles villain Baxter Stockman was his name was actually Bastard Stockman.
Bastard Stockman.
Because for some reason I heard that word somewhere and thought it was the
Bastard
same as the
Cockman.
name, and yeah,
right.
Hey, remember
my great
fucking around?
grandfather had fun with that.
Yeah, I
That's
do.
all I gotta
Fucks
say.
around,
Fucks
fucks in the
around.
house, fucking around.
Fucking around.
All right.
Satan. Oh my God.
So with that, let's go ahead and go around the room. Let's tell us where we can find us. Anyway, Jared, go ahead.
Well, you can find me on Facebook, Jared Lockhart 80, if you're feeling Kermit the Froggy. I got nothing. Next.
You'll be here next week.
Yeah. Stay tuned.
Yeah, right. Mitch, go ahead, sir.
You
Yes.
can find me at
How comes there's no blue food?
you can find me at
Yeah.
Linktree/Celtic Cross Studios. You can find my website, my online comics, and my T-shirt, my TeePublic store. And you can also find me next week on Dispatches, probably Zimcast, and if I wake up in time, finally on a Sunday Funnies.
That would be good, buddy.
Yeah.
That'd be real good.
Randy.
You can find me on Facebook if you look real hard. If you look even harder, you might find me on Twitter, but probably not. You can always reach me at thezimcast@gmail.com. Tomorrow night, we're going to have a special episode of the Zimcast where we're going to talk about the language in this industry and how we need to watch.
Words mean things.
We need to watch our language.
Yeah.
Like peacocks.
Not
No, that's like that.
Yeah, we fucking do.
in accordance to the industry. There's too many words out there that we need to
notes.
toss and just stop using because they're no longer valid.
I
We're
agree.
going to go over some of those words tomorrow night, 8 p.m. Here on the ICN.
Whatever we are right now.
Independent Comic Network, Ragin 2, wherever we are
Find
here.
Randy on
You can see it on my
OnlyFans.
Facebook page or whatever.
Yeah.
And then Sunday morning, even though Jared doesn't like the term, we like to try to put the fun back in funny books
Well,
and
I
do
digress.
the
I like
Sunday funnies, where we try to have a lighthearted discussion about this industry and this art form that we love so much. And if you haven't seen any of those, they're all archived over on the Ragin 2 channel. You should go over there and take a look at those. Every last one of them's worth your time. There's some real gems in there where we've interviewed some great people and covered a lot of ground over there. It's Sunday Funnies, 9 a.m. on Sunday. And I'll probably be back here next Tuesday because we need to talk Super Marionation probably and on that puppet show.
Thunderbirds, everything, yeah.
Oh, there's more than that. Gary
Oh, I love
Anderson
the
is just
Thunderbirds.
amazing.
Bring
Captain Scarlet, Fireball XL5, Stingray. Anyway, on and on. But yeah, if you want to read some of my stuff right now over on Amazon, under War of the Worlds Infestation, there's a graphic novel over there that you can buy that I wrote. I'm especially proud of. I wrote it a long time ago, but I think it still holds up, and I'm very happy with it. Other than that, keep an eye open for Arrow Comics 4.0 because there's a lot of stuff in the works. There's a lot of stuff coming out. I'm currently working on a book myself that we're not going to do a crowdfunding for until I know exactly when it's going to come out. It's taken me a little while to get it all together. That covers my last year's worth of experience under a respirator and on that sea bug and everything that I've learned in the last 6 months to a year, it's been an incredible journey that I want to share with everybody. So keep looking for that. You'll hear more about that if you stay listening to this network, and we'll get that sign-up sheet up there as soon as we can. So,
All right. Daphne.
Yeah, I think no. I'm just a little distracted because I just realized that I might have been accidentally cosplaying an anime character this entire episode, but I just can't place it right now. So if you want to learn more about me and my artwork, you can head on over to my main portfolio site at egoworks.com, EGOWORKS. You can find links to all of my galleries and social media sites, but I mostly post to Facebook. You can also read the first 5 issues of Ego Raven, Air the First Unicorn in its original black and white format at the website. But if you prefer your fantasy to be more of a Lord of the Rings type of adventure, you can follow the link to Tall Tales, TAILS online.com, and read the first 20 issues of Tall Tales for free. And while you're at it, make sure you sign up for my newsletter so you can keep track of all of the campaigns and all of a lot of campaigns coming up, so you can keep track of everything without missing out on any of my books. And you can also check out all my videos on how I make all my comics on my channel at Daphne Lage, Lage Art, which also simulcasts through this network. The Indie Comics Network and Ragin 2. So there you go.
Nita, let us know where we can find you.
I'm Nita, and you can find me at the place nobody can remember.
Well, stop changing the damn name.
No, I think
But there's a reason. And guess what? That simple name change brought me from page 15 on Google to page number 1.
Yeah. So
So you can find me on the
We'll
Indie
get used to
Comics
it.
Network channel, when and wherever I'm live. Facebook under Nita Lanning, Twitter C_chaos247.
All right. And of course, I'm C Michael Lanning. You can check me out on TikTok. My Linktree at Linktree / C Michael Lanning.
on C's
OnlyFans
OnlyFans.
is there.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Spicy over there.
But I'm going to
Spicy.
go ahead. I'm going
Cajun.
to head out with a quote from Frank Oz about Jim. When asked on what was in Jim, he would tell you incredibly hard work while working on stuff you didn't even like. You're still having fun, and long work, being collaborative, no ego, only working for the good of the product. And I think we should all take a page out of that book.
And
So-
remember, and if you can't think of an ending, either someone gets eaten or explodes.
And there you go. I totally.
True.
So,
That's how my life is.
Yeah.
all right, we're going to leave out on a bump tonight. And I'm going to say, again, if you're stuck in the box and you can't create, learn to decorate. Good night.
Ciao.